Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, konnichiwa, konbanwa, wherever you are. Welcome to the Two Gamer Dads podcast, episode 12. Today,
Hello.
hello, we have two guests, two returning guests. I have the pleasure to introduce Ian Kwan and Chris. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So today's episode, we're not going to talk about our standard, how's everybody doing. Okay, I will ask how you guys are doing. But today is all about Wheel of Time. So, but before we get to that, before we get into, get into our angry zone, maybe just ask how you guys are doing. How you guys are doing?
Yeah,
Good,
good.
good. Life's good. Yeah.
Everybody excited for Chinese New Year?
Not really.
Not really. Why?
I don't know. You've got 5 people. You can't really do proper Chinese
Yeah.
New Year. So
Yeah. It's five. It's not even five at one time. It's five total for the whole day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have those measures at condos now, right? Where you can't.
Yeah,
They're trying to enforce.
They track like the unique
Yeah.
visitors.
Oh, did they? So they'll
Yeah.
ask you which. Also, they'll ask you which house you go to, and then they'll write it down.
Yeah.
That's the
Just say
plan.
some other unit lah.
Use up someone else's like quota. Yeah.
But I guess for some people it's also quite good that you can't go out so often. I mean, you just visit the people that are the closest to you, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So good to know. Marv, you're doing okay, right? How's Meredith?
Yeah lah. I mean the 5% thing is kind of sucky. Like, because normally for Chinese New Year, the first day, we normally go to like my grandma's house. Then there'll be like, I don't know, 20 over people. I mean pre-COVID lah. Then we all gamble. We all like, we'll play 21. Then they'll play. After a while they'll split up and play mahjong. But then with the five unique visitors. So my mom, my dad, my uncle, and then another uncle auntie. There are only 5 going to my grandma's house on the first day lah. So I won't even see my grandma. Then the second day is like, I think my cousin is going because my cousin has 2 kids. So there's 4 people already. There's no way any of us can go. So I'm not seeing my grandma for like the first 2 days. Yeah, confirm.
But
So
you'll bring her to see Meredith lah. Or you bring Meredith to see
probably
her
on the
first.
weekend lor. Yeah.
Mm.
It's quite sad lah. Like for me, I look
Yes.
forward to Chinese New Year most years because I enjoy the gambling, to be honest.
I was gonna say you just like to win other people's money.
Yeah.
It's not just about the gambling, right? It's about the the spirit where everybody's gathered. Like, you don't see all your relatives at one place unless a wedding or a funeral, right? Most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sad lah. I mean, it's like this is like second year already, right? We can't gather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
So-
We'll deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to be here anyway. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough about that. Okay, before we move on to Wheel of Time, last week we talked to Tian and we asked, we actually tiered Chinese New Year snacks. So I wanted to ask Chris and what are your S tier snacks in Chinese New Year? When I say S tier, right, I defined it as like when you go to a person's house, like this is the snack that you look for. Like, yeah, and then if you don't have it, you're like, what the heck? Why don't have snack?
go for it.
Maybe Chris can go first.
I mean, mine is easy lah. Mine is always bakwa.
Yeah. That
I think
our
Baka
S tier.
was on our S tier, so yeah.
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 Bakwa is next. Do you have anything else like other than bakwa?
I mean, I don't actually eat a lot of Chinese New Year snacks. It comes down to, I mean, it's basically just bakwa. Pineapple tart's always nice.
Yeah.
Maybe leftovers. That's about it.
Yeah. Do you want to hear Marv's thing about pineapple tarts? So pineapple tarts got 2 kind, right? One is the closed kind and the open kind.
Yeah.
So to him, S tier is open pineapple tarts.
Open is S tier,
is-
close is F tier. Okay lah. I would say that it's not F tier lah. It's more of
It's not F.
maybe C tier for me.
C tier? How can you go from
Really? You can taste the difference, man.
There's a difference, like
there is
because the
difference.
ratio. I was telling you guys. I was telling Jamie also, right? Like the ratio of pastry to pineapple makes a difference. Like I prefer more pineapple, and also Jamie was explaining that the open ones, the pineapple gets a bit more. What did you say?
Yeah, caramelized.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it
So
cooks,
I
it cooks
feel a
well.
difference. Yeah.
There is a difference, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not two.
So
it's not 3 tiers.
Shirley brought home a bottle of closed ones. Then
Yeah.
I ate one, and then after that she ate like I think almost the rest.
Oh.
That's the
But-
whole
but-
point of her bringing back
Yeah.
close
You purposely bring back the
She was
clothes.
like,
Yeah,
"Do you want the last one?" I'm like, "No lah, go ahead lah."
It's like, do you want the rest? After you have one, it's like, do you want the rest? No, lah, go ahead.
No, but I think what the closed one is bad is because they can conceal the amount of pineapple inside. Because you can't see, right?
Mm.
But the open one, you see, like, you know, you have it's like the whole tart, right? Then if they put like a tiny bit of pineapple, it's very obvious. But for the closed one, they can just put like a little bit, and then you eat it, you're like, well, this, I'm just eating a tart. I'm not eating any pineapple.
I guess that's
So
why
I
you go
feel-
for particular brands, right?
The simple
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
to that question, guys,
Yeah.
is just make your own pineapple tarts.
Wow, that's
That's
a
too
whole
leceh
different
lah,
level.
bro.
Okay. That's too much. Pineapple that's hard to make.
It's
very
not
leceh.
that hard. We've
No, it's
been
not hard,
you
but
want some? I deliver some to you.
I saw Grace.
Okay,
she
come.
made a lot, right? Grace, I saw made like a
Grace
lot of
made?
snacks.
She's made like 3 batches of it lah to
Oh,
like
Wow.
give away and stuff. So
Okay, I don't think it's hard, but I know it's very time consuming.
just I mean you can shortcut the process by buying the filling.
Yeah,
Because the filling is the super time consuming one because
yeah.
you gotta stand there and stir for several hours, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't wanna do that, you just buy the filling. You can make the pastry
Yeah.
yourself.
And after making it, do you realize like do you feel worse because you realize how much sugar goes into it?
Well, no, but then again, I cook, right? So you already
Yeah.
you
Okay.
already have an idea that there are some things that you
You don't
may not
ask.
actually want to know what goes into it. But I
Yeah.
mean, no lah, no, not really.
Okay.
We know that we know there's a lot of sugar. Oh, and that's
Yeah.
also why you don't make the pineapple filling yourself, because that's where all the sugar really goes into, right? That's the
Yeah.
that's the bit where all the sugar goes in.
Yeah. How about Kwan? It's your
Oh,
STS.
actually, I only eat pineapple tarts. I don't enjoy other
serious?
cookies. Yeah.
Especially
So this whole conversation on pineapple tarts is very apt.
Oh, what? Okay, I
And
guess
I don't segregate the tiers. I'm a very liberal. in my
S or F. Yeah, I did S or F.
all S tiers, all S tiers.
Oh, that's so interesting. So when you go to someone's house last time, you only eat pineapple.
Pineapple tarts.
Oh, so you only eat pineapple tarts.
Yeah. I will not eat anything else. I don't enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh,
I also need to
Wow.
add low quality chocolate to my list.
of F tier or S tier?
The
I
chocolate
mean,
coin.
if the question is what snacks do I look for when I go to other people's houses, it's low quality chocolate because I'll never ever find it in my own house, and I love the taste of.
Oh my
That's our F,
god,
that's our
that's
F
our
tier.
F
We
tier.
put that.
Yeah,
We put
yeah,
that
Yeah,
in
it's
F
total
tier.
F tier, man. What the
For
I
hell?
know
us,
we
it's
know.
like if we find that in your house, we are not
We'll
visiting
ask
again.
you. Yeah, we'll ask you why. Why do you
Guess
have
what
it in your
Alex
house?
is gonna
You'll
get
never find
on
it in
his
my house, but I'll
Angpao this
eat wherever
year?
I go to other houses.
We're
Okay,
all
but
give him chocolate coins.
I love it.
It's
man.
one of those
I-
like so trashy that some people really like. I can. It's like some things are just really like it reminds you of. Do you have it when you were a child? Is that why?
I think it's because it's one of those things where my parents would never buy it. So
Yeah.
you know, when I go to like my aunt's house and she has, because like she gets visitors, like so many visitors, right? So
Yeah.
there's always these kind of like chocolates or candy that
Yeah.
I will never find in my house. So I'll eat it when I go to her house. So
Mm.
amongst it is, you know, the low quality chocolate. So it's just one of those things.
Okay, bro, if we visit your house this year, we will all buy one.
We'll buy for you. Buy for you.
Chocolate eggs are easier to eat. Chocolate coins too leceh.
Yeah. Is it because it sticks to the thing?
Yeah. Chocolate eggs, please.
I like how
Okay,
I don't
bring
even.
it. Grace might kill
I
you.
don't
So
even-
don't
I
bring
don't
it.
even know where to find it nowadays. It's quite hard to
Awesome.
find, right?
I think you gotta go to all the
Specialty
mama
shops,
lor.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go to like and like some NTUC will sell the snacks, right? I don't think you can find
I
it.
don't think you find it there anymore. Yeah.
It's got
Depends on which NTUC lah, probably.
Hmm. All right. So now we go into the meat of today's topic. All right. So I want to caveat this. Today's topic is all about the TV series, TV series and book series, The Wheel of Time, which just came which came out on Amazon TV Prime November. I think I'd like to say November. In November and like kind of like stretched all the way to the end of December. So we are gonna be spoiling almost all the TV series, and we're not gonna spoil. We're gonna spoil at least the book up to book one. So I won't spoil beyond book one. At least I'll try not to spoil book more than book one. And so if you are very sensitive to spoilers or you do not want to know what happens and you want to go watch it, please stop watching this podcast. Okay. But so I was debating with myself, how do I best approach this podcast? Because if I just like let us like talk about this and our disagreements, right, it's just gonna be very angry and pointless. So this is what we're gonna do. All right. I have categorized this I thought about this a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. We're going to split. There are 8 episodes in total, and each episode there are 3. I labeled them into 3 arcs. Okay, so we're going to talk about each arc separately because I think there's a very clear distinction between the 3 arcs. And I actually wrote down the cliff notes for each episode because I don't know how long, but you guys have watched this since, but I don't think you guys will remember every single detail, right, of the episode. So I'm not going to go through every single detail. It's just a cliff notes, like 5 or 6 sentences per episode. And then I want to hear your comments on each episode. And it can be anything from the script, it can be the plot, can be the acting, can be the CGI, or even like how it's not cohesive. All right. And I want everybody to watch, to talk about it because in our group of 4, right, all of us have different experience with the books. So we have someone like Marv who has never read the books before,
Non-book reading.
right? Maybe even before The Wheel of Time was announced, didn't even know that the books existed.
Yeah, I knew.
Oh, you knew?
Yep.
Okay. And then on the next level, we have Kwan, right? So Kwan has read or tried to read Eye of the World and then gave up. But now he's reading through the second book, right? The Great Hunt.
Yep.
Okay.
Slowly.
How far have you gotten there? Like roughly, give a percentage.
10% maybe.
Okay.
Or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. And then Chris, who has read most of the books, I think until Robert Jordan died.
Yep.
So probably up to Winter's, maybe up to book 10, around there, before
Yeah,
Brandon
I read
sent
up
to
to
work.
10.
Yeah. Okay. And then for me, I finished all the books. So I've read all of the Brandon Sanderson series books that continue after Robert Jordan died. Okay. So we're kind of, that's the rough general. Then after that, we'll talk about character arcs and themes and everything. Okay. First part, the first 3 episodes. Okay. I classify them as one arc. All right. The first episode is called Leave Taking. Okay. We are introduced to Moraine and Len, who are Aes Sedai and Warder. So it kind of talks about how the male half of the one power is corrupted. And it doesn't even talk about this. The dragon tears the world apart in his madness. So some Aes Sedai try to kill male channelers, but Moraine is on the search for the new reincarnation of the dragon. So they end up at the Two Rivers, a place that is called, in the book, it's called Eamon's Field. And from now on, we'll call the 4 people that she finds the EF4. Okay, EF4. So she finds EF4, which is Egwene, Perrin, Matt, and Ran, who she wants to bring to the White Tower. Okay, so during this time, Ran is in love with Egwene, but Egwene wants to become Wisdom, so she can't get married. But eventually, Trollocs raid the Two Rivers. Nynaeve is taken, while Perrin, in his defense, accidentally kills his wife, Layla. Accidentally. All right. So Moraine and Lane defeat most of the Trollocs, but Moraine gets injured, and then eventually the 4 villagers join them on a journey to keep the Trollocs from hurting their family. That's generally the gist of it. Okay, so let's start with Martha. So we always go in this order. Martha, what do you think of the first episode?
Okay. So let me caveat like my experience with Wheel of Time. I knew the books existed, obviously. Like I knew the whole, like, the original author died and then he didn't finish, right? And then somebody else came in to finish up the book. So I knew they existed, like in my knowledge, it's somewhere there. I heard of it before. And I would say that I'm a Game of Thrones fan. Like, I would say first I'm a Game of Thrones fan. Of the books, obviously. Still very angry what happened in the TV series, for sure. And when I heard of Wheel of Time and then you guys started talking about it, I was like, oh, this could be like, the next, big fantasy TV series that will fill the void that Game of Thrones left, right? I basically wasted like 10 years watching Game of Thrones. And I would say that the first episode, if you're gonna talk about like quality, I felt like the quality wasn't there. But maybe because I brought in like a lot of baggage. It sounds like relationship, right? Brought a lot of baggage from Game of Thrones, and as bad as Game of Thrones ended, like on like the terrible season 8, the quality of Game of Thrones was pretty good in terms of like the casting, um, the whole like the way they just filmed the show. I felt that the okay, so number one, I felt like the acting wasn't very good. Okay, story wise, I wouldn't say I have anything to like. I wasn't like at a place where I can decide whether I like it or not because first episode, right? Yeah, interesting premise. Like, one of them who is the one. But I know like that's a point of contention, right? Because the books don't really hide that, something like that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, doesn't seem very high quality, even though we've all heard like they spend what 10 million per episode. But interesting enough for me that I want to continue watching. So that was like my first impression, my very first initial impression. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Actually, for the first episode, we'll just go through, but the later two episodes, we'll just talk through the arc. Okay,
Okay.
so maybe Kwan, what do you think about the first episode?
I think I also will do what Marv did, which is to give you
Yeah.
the background before watching, right? So when we heard that John was working on the music, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I'm very hyped already just to see a friend's piece of work.
Shout out to John.
Yeah, shout out to John. And then I know that people like Chris and other friends were reading it when we were in school, and I was like, okay, this is why they were taking all these books, lugging it around and reading it. So I actually went online to some YouTubers and try to understand the law behind the whole world, right? To try and psych myself, and it was really very interesting. That it's not set in some medieval world, that it's far into the future, and there's a collapse of science and all that, and I thought that the entire law was very interesting. You have your what Sidine or something, the two different parts of the power. I thought that's all quite cool, so I was quite psyched for it. And then when you enter the first episode, I don't know if you guys remember, but it's this like the Red Aja basically chasing down two male channelers.
Mhm.
And there was this narrative about how men broke the world, right? And I'm just like immediately kind of put off lah, because I don't think that's how the books would have. And when I read the books now, I don't sense that and toxicity
That's the
towards,
message they wanted to bring across, right?
right? Yeah, that it was about males, having destroying the world, anything like that. It just so happened that they did something, and then obviously it corrupted their side of the power. So that already like was the wrong step for me. Like it's the wrong footing. And then as you progress through the episode, I just thought the graphics aren't very good lah, right? And then like you said, like Perrin killing his wife within 10 minutes of introducing us to the relationship, it felt cheap, right? It felt really cheap. And then we learn later on that apparently he's in love with Egwene, and I'm there is no context to that at all. And yeah, I also thought that the intimate scene between Egwene and Ren was very cheap. Like you didn't feel any chemistry, you didn't feel any setup, you didn't feel, like compared it to Game of Thrones where the Lannisters were going at it, right? Like that felt like at least a bit more real. Ironically, even though it's incestuous, but something like Egwene and Ren was just, it just felt very forced, contrived. Yeah.
I agree.
So I agree with Marvin.
Yeah.
Like it's just the casting didn't bring out a lot of the emotional side of the the story. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting to hear from even non-book readers. Okay, now we get to the Chris.
So for myself, the context is obviously I read the books many years ago now. I didn't read the books again in the anticipation of the show coming out. So for me, I don't remember a lot of the fine detail of what happens in the story. I remember the general, the overarching story arcs, like what generally happens. I remember the major events, but all these little interactions along the way, I've forgotten most of it. But so I guess the problem with episode 1 and the show in general is that there were a lot of moments when I was watching it which felt very jarring to me because it happens in a way that I didn't remember it happening. Right? Like immediately, we're talking about episode 1, we're talking about parents' wife. The reason why these concepts all feel, we're talking about that intimate scene between Ren and Egwene. The reason why these things feel weird is because they don't actually happen in the book.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, I was like, I don't remember that happening. And that's something that just happens throughout the show. So a lot of times I'm starting to ask myself, like, is it just because I've forgotten what's happened? Or, is this something that they've changed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and I can understand why changes are necessary because, I don't think it's realistic to expect the show, to replicate a book that's a series that's thousands and thousands of pages long, exactly. But I guess as we get through this, through the series and we discuss all the other episodes, the question that will constantly come up is, why was this change necessary, and was it really the best way to tell the story whilst trying to keep to the spirit of the books? So some things definitely felt very weird. Like, for example, why was it necessary to make Perrin married, for example? Like, is that there just simply to give him some sort of inner turmoil to replace the inner turmoil that they cut out because they didn't have time for it? I mean, the answer is probably yes.
Yes.
But I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just felt very weird.
To be clear, in the books, he's not married.
He's not married.
No.
They're all like 16 years old.
They're all
in the
16 years
book.
old?
Yeah, they're all like 16 to 17
Okay,
years
but
old. They're punks.
in the show, they're how old? 20, is it?
Yeah, no, they're
They
supposed to
should
be
be
at
that age.
They should
as
be
well.
like 17, 18 years old. They
No,
shouldn't be like
I heard that they made the executive decision to raise the age for all of them, right? Because if they were 16, 17, it would feel too much like a young adult kind of
Young
fiction. Yeah.
I know Nynaeve is 24 in the show. I know
Yeah.
that. So if I'm not wrong, maybe they're 19 to 20. So they're a
Yeah.
little bit older.
Because
Which is fine to me. Like that's fine.
the whole prophecy is that they are born like
in the same year. They're all the same age.
correct, and
Yeah,
then
except Nynaeve.
yeah, and then we don't know which of them are.
Yeah.
It's the Dragon
The
Reborn,
Dragon
right?
Yeah.
Actually, I think
So-
Chris brought out a
Okay.
very good point, which was
Yeah.
about, usually when you make an executive decision to change the narrative, it is to make some kind of positive emotional impact, right? Like you pointed out, giving him a wife was probably supposed to make us feel his turmoil when he accidentally killed her. And I think to some extent that is felt immediately during the action when he axes his wife, right? But after that, like there is no emotional connection with the wife, that it just feels like he's just brooding and like you almost feel like just get over yourself, even though he killed his wife. Right. The next thing that he's pining for another woman, which kind of cheapens the death in the first place, right?
Yeah.
I also believe doesn't actually happen in the book. I'm
No.
not sure, I need to correct me, but I don't remember that
all right.
either.
Yeah. So okay, let me just as we go through the whole, we'll go through a little bit faster later on as because now we're talking about topics that are like what happened later on as well, right? Like Perrin and Egwene's relationship. So as we go through, right, Chris and I can tell you like what the book perspective is, so you can compare and contrast. I will say that whatever Chris says is totally true. There isn't any relationship between Egwene and Perrin, although there might be a little bit of there is a little bit of attraction. I would argue for it a little bit because they travel together, right? They go to the Thinkers later on. So there is but it is nothing explicit. Like it is not on the same level as what Egwene had with Ren, right? So it never becomes a source of contention for them, which it does become in this series. Okay, so and actually maybe as we go through, we can talk about character arcs, because I think for me, Wheel of Time, especially in the first season, is a character-driven story. So as a director, you want to make people care about the characters, because you're going to be watching these characters for like 8 seasons. Therefore 8 seasons plan. So if I don't make you love these characters at the start, you're not going to care what happens to them down. And actually in the books, right, and I think Chris will back me up on this, all the characters go through their own character arcs, and they're all very distinct and very different. That makes you like want to cheer for them, or makes you want to strangle them, depending on the character.
Mm.
All right. So, Chris, do you have anything else to add before I just say one part about that one and I'll let it go?
No, but
So
I
you
guess
can always jump in later. Yeah.
I guess from a general perspective in terms of like production quality and stuff like that, I think Marv has it right. Which is that we've had perhaps the disservice of watching Game of Thrones before this series come out, and if you're leaving aside the ending for Game of Thrones, the first season of Game of Thrones blew my mind when it came out. That first episode was so good. It's so good in the fact that I can still replay that episode in my mind, like right now, like exactly what happens in that episode. So to have that and then Wheel of Time, which doesn't have that same kind of impact, I think is a bit unfortunate, perhaps.
Yeah. It looked like a wuxia show. You know those like Chinese wuxia shows? It looked a bit like that, the special effects and everything. Okay, so I actually, in hindsight, I was very angry at this first episode actually as an avid book reader. But in hindsight, I'm actually more kind to this episode than I give it credit for, because I think it actually basically, minus the Perrin and Layla thing, it does cover all the major plot points that happens in the book. It doesn't cover it extremely well, but it does cover most of it. And I think the pacing has issues. Like there's a lot of points in where it drags it down completely. Like, why do you care whether Egwene is part of the woman's circle? When she dies into that thing. Like, all these are like not important points, That it doesn't even come out later on in the show about why being a woman is important, right? Womanhood and everything. But anyway, my biggest gripe with the first episode is why didn't they use the freaking prologue in the book to set up the show? Because if you would read the prologue, right, of what Robert Jordan literally wrote his first words, it is so freaking good. It explains why the dragon is like this mythical thing to be feared. Because honestly, I asked my wife at the end of the first episode, so you know what's going on? She says, I said, do you know who the dragon is? Then she was like, who the heck is the dragon? Like, why does the dragon even matter? Why does the dragon reborn? Why is it important? So I think the bad thing is that they never set up the premise of the story well as to why the dragon reborn is important. And honestly, they don't do it until episode 7. Yeah. So I think if you want to do the whole mystery of who is the dragon reborn, you need to set it up so that the dragon reborn is like an important figure. And why is it so important?
Yeah.
So anyway, and Marv, do you even know what the dragon did?
So I remember like you were asking me, I don't know, like few episodes in, like, do you know who the Dragon Reborn is? And I'm like, no, and I don't even know, like, why do I care? Like, who cares? Because okay, so let me just like, contrast it with a beloved movie, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Right. So if you all remember Fellowship of the Ring, I think starts off with I can't remember what is it called, War of the I don't know, Second War or something like that, where Sauron is defeated, right? So they actually show like the ring get cut off his finger, even though it's like just a couple of minutes, and then after that it's Frodo, jumping onto what's his name, Gandalf's cut, right? So at least there's like some setup that Lord of the Rings is about, an actual ring, and there's a bad guy. So for a bit of time, I was like, I assume that the Dragon Reborn is a very powerful wizard, but I'm just assuming because we don't actually know what the dragon is. So, okay, why don't you tell me what was the prologue for the first book?
Okay, so the name of the dragon is Zeus Therisdaemon. Okay, LTT for short. Just call it LTT for short. Okay, so in the book, right, it starts off with him holding his wife in his arms, his dying wife in his arms.
Okay.
Right, and then Shaitan, who is the dark one, the bad guy, is like mocking him. All right. So what you realize is that in his madness, in the dragon's madness, he has broken the world and killed the people around him. Killed the people he loved the most around him.
I see.
Okay. So it doesn't explain what the heck happened before that, but you see the aftermath, right? He breaks the world, he kills the people around him, and the dark one is like laughing at him.
Okay.
Okay. It's a very short scene, actually. The prologue is like, how I say, like 7-8 pages long. But it gives you enough context to think to yourself, hey, what the heck happened?
Okay.
Right. But it doesn't give you that in the book.
So
in the
it
movies, in the
gives
shows.
a glimpse of how powerful the dragon is, right?
Yes. Because he destroys everything. He destroys everything. He breaks the world in half, basically. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like that makes a lot of sense. Because we actually know like what he can do.
Yeah.
Whereas in the
Yeah.
show, they just keep like saying that, oh, he's very powerful and we need to find him. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, we'll move on. We will have a lot to talk about later. All right. So I'm just going to go to the next 2 episodes, which is part of the first arc, very quickly, so that we just reacquaint ourselves. So in the second episode called Shadows Waiting, we are introduced to the White Cloaks, where we see the first scene, Eamon Valda, he burns like the Aes Sedai on the stake and cuts off her fingers and whatever. Okay. Moraine's party, the part of the EF4, and leaves Terran Ferry, and then I don't know, remember this, she destroys the ferry to prevent the Trollocs from following
Yep.
her.
Yep.
Okay, and then the EF4 goes a bit like, oh, what the heck you just do? Okay, Egwene finds out that she can channel. So Moiraine starts to teach her a little bit. And Perrin realizes that he can communicate to wolves. Although I don't think this came out very much well at all. And then all the EF4 has starts to have strange dreams with the Dark One. Okay, eventually the Trollocs catch up with them and they enter Shadar Logoth, the very dark city, okay, to escape. And in Shadar Logoth, this group is attacked and separated by, you don't know his name, but it's Mashadar. This like the tendrils of darkness. Okay, Nynaeve eventually tracks Lan and Moraine and confronts them about the villagers. And then Moraine is kept incapacitated by her wound. Matt and Ren are together. Egwene and Perrin are together. So they split up totally. Oh, by the way, Matt steals a dagger from Shadar Logoth. Okay, so that's episode 2. I'll go straight to episode 3. Place of safety. So it has a flashback where Nynaeve is shown that she outsmarts the Trolloc, right? She hides in and then she escapes. Okay, so following Perrin and Egwene, they eventually find the Tinkers, or what we call the Tuathan, who is like this pacifistic nomadic group. They
Way
follow
of the
the
Leaf.
way of the leaf. Exactly. Okay, so you
Hidden
guys
Leaf
remember that. Okay.
Village.
Yeah, the way of the leaf, just like Naruto.
Hokage.
Okay.
But this Hokage no power.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Hokage sucks. Okay, so Perrin and Egwene, no, sorry, Matt and Ren, on the other hand, argue about whether to go to the White Tower or not. But Matt is starting to show like signs of madness and darkness. They enter a village where they meet a gleeman. Gleeman is the musician called Tom Marilyn, who steals their gold but eventually rescues them from a dark friend. And together, the three of them run away. This is the part where, Ren thought he was very sexy, but actually it was a dark friend that was seducing him. And then Nynaeve tries her best to heal Moraine, who recovers enough to travel. And then they eventually meet Liandrin and the other Red Sisters who have captured the false dragon, Loghain Oblar. Okay? So that's the next 2 episodes. Okay? Just general, same thing. You can just talk about these 2 episodes. What did you think about these 2 episodes? Marv, you can go first.
Okay, yeah. So obviously the ferryman part reminded me of Lord of the Rings again. You know, when they're escaping the what do you call it? The Nazgul, right?
The Nazgul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think that's where we start seeing the wolves, right? But
Yeah.
I think the wolves are like following them or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah. Or trying to herd them towards a certain direction. That's what I assume lah. This not the one where they were caught, right? Was this the one where they were caught?
No.
Not yet, right?
But right now, they haven't gotten caught by the White Wolves.
I think like the whole second and third episode where they eventually got split up in the second episode, right? I was like, wow. I felt like the pacing was super fast. Because like I was trying to relate it a bit to Lord of the Rings lah. Because I mean it's like it's like a kind of like a fellowship, right? The EF4 with the two the what's his name? Lan and Moraine, right? Then I was like, second episode they split up already. It was like very, very fast. Like to me it felt very abrupt. And then the third episode, like we have before we even know the characters, like even a bit more, now we have to follow 2 different storylines because they're separated.
3.
Or 3, yeah, 3 different storylines.
3.
Because they're split into 3 groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me it was very jarring. Yeah.
Mm.
And for somebody who's not a book reader, and it's a new series where you don't know the characters well. In fact, you don't even know the characters, maybe beyond their names. You're like, what's happening? Yeah. So that was my initial impression.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's fine. What?
I think I'll just touch on like maybe 3 points. One was when the children of the dawn, what are they called? Children of dawn, right?
Children of the light. White
Children of
Wolf.
light, right? White
White
Wolf, yeah. When they caught the Aes Sedai, and this comes after like Moraine did her super powers in the first episode, and then you're like, these powerless men manage to capture so many Aes Sedai? Like, how did they do it? Right? They don't even look very like capable, right? They're all wearing like white dresses and like they don't come across as menacing. Although I would say that that what was he called, Inquisitor or something, right?
Yeah, Valda.
Iman Valda.
Yeah, Valda.
Iman
Yeah,
Valda.
like he was really good. I think his acting really brought out that menace, right?
Yeah,
But
he's
you
the
don't know
best.
why he's menacing, right?
Yep.
Like what power does he have? So that's one that was a bit jarring. You guys mentioned the fairy scene, and yeah, it's totally like you would compare it to Lord of the Rings, right? But in Lord of the Rings, there were like how many Nazgul? 1 or 9 chasing them. When in this scene, there's a whole like horde of Trollocs and one faceless one, eyeless one, and they're afraid of water. Right? Like the stream isn't very large in the first place. There's like, at most is like 10, 20 meters, and you're telling me this entire horde is afraid of water. And it just feels a bit comical to some degree, I feel. And the last part, and I think this is the most hilarious part, is like when they were, eventually the horde of Trollocs catch up with them, and they run to a city, and there's this huge hole in the wall, and then all of these menacing creatures suddenly like get scared shitless and like don't dare to enter the city and stand outside the city like 20 miles away or something like that while they just watch their prey run into the city. I don't know about how you guys felt about it, but when I saw it, I was like, that's so silly. Like there's nothing menacing about the city. You don't know anything about the city. It's just a hole in a wall, and they don't dare to enter it. And there's literally like a line, right? They don't even like shove. They just stop at this arbitrary line and stare into the distance as their quarry escapes them. I think these three like scenes just perhaps best capture how silly I felt the entire directing and like the way the story was being narrated to us, like it just felt somewhat comical lah. And no doubt there's still good acting from Len and Maureen that carried, right, like the entire 2 episodes. I remember she did talk about the Manetheren and she related that story in episode 2. And I thought, wow, that was something that captured my attention, right? Like you're forced to think about, oh, these people come from this great heritage, and that's why she's bothering with them. And that was interesting. But that is completely foiled by the silliness of these other scenes. Lah. That's how I felt about it. Yeah.
Chris, you want to shed some light on this? You still remember? I'm sure that you remember. Like this is pretty important.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a totally valid point. And the reason why it seems so ridiculous or comical is because in the show they just don't have time to establish anything. Whereas if you had read the book, the power of the White Cloaks as an entity is pretty much talked about constantly. They very carefully set out who these people are, what their ethos is, and also the fact that they are perfectly willing to kill everybody whether they have any cause or not. So on that basis, when you finally meet them, you will know why people are afraid of them. It's the same thing with the issue about Sheda Logoth. Like in the book, they actually have time to tell you the exact story about why these monsters are afraid to go in. And in the books, the monsters do actually eventually go in. They don't just get chased by Mashadar. Like eventually, through a different source of fear, like these monsters do eventually get herded into the city to look for the group, and that's ultimately one of the reasons why. That's actually the reason why they even had to
ran
leave
away.
in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mashadar doesn't even come into play. Or rather, Mashadar comes into play because the monsters came into the city. I think, if I'm not wrong.
Mm.
Yeah, partially.
Yeah, vaguely, roughly wrong. So yeah, so it's just these little details that they are not able to put into the show. That when you remove them, it kind of makes all of these scenes feel like it's lacking something. There's no basis, like how is this possible, or why is it done this way? So on and so forth.
Yeah. I will say, okay, for the non-book readers, right, it is very faithful up to this point. Up to episode 3, everything, the major plot points, like in the book, Moraine does also destroy the fairy.
Yep.
In the book, they do run to Shada Lagoth,
Mhm.
and they do encounter Mashada. Although in the book, Mashada is actually exemplified in an old man. Like they ran and meet this old man inside the city. And like when Mashada finds out that they are with an Aes Sedai, he goes that's when he starts going crazy. And of course, like what Chris said, the Trollocs eventually get pushed enough by the fate, the Eyeless ones, to go inside the city and chase them out. Okay, so there is but majority of the big story, I would argue, is there. But the fact that you guys don't understand the big story and why they don't enter Shadow Logov shows that he didn't set up the story well enough. He wasted, I feel, he wasted a lot of his time explaining a lot of things that don't need to be explained, when he should have been focusing more on all these things that you guys are saying. Like why Shadow Logov is so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Or all these different things. Yeah.
I think if you can parallel it to, I mean, again, Lord of the Rings, right? Like when you go to what's that, the mountain that they go into? Can't remember now. Where they meet the Balrog.
The mines, is it? Mines or more?
Yeah, the mines,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? Like when the idea is first mooted to the Fellowship, Gandalf gives this like, no, we cannot go into the mines, right? But we eventually find out why, which is, there is the Balrog and then he's
There is a
menacing again.
payoff. There's a payoff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a huge payoff, right? You see this huge creature and he's menacing and he takes on Gandalf and beats Gandalf, right? But in in Shadar Logoth, you see this old, I mean, you don't even see the old man, you just
No, we
see
don't.
You
like
see black
darkness.
shadows. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
darkness.
and oh, you need to run from the shadows. Like,
Yep.
there's no payoff for that, I think. Yeah.
And okay, so but I will say, to give I do think that when in the end of episode 3, when they meet Logain and they meet the Red Sisters, I feel the story picks up. Like I think for me, the first okay, we'll go on to this next, but episode 4 to 6 to me are the best parts of the series. Okay, and we will talk about it later. But I think Logain is a big part of why I think the TV series gets better in the next part. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the next 3 episodes. So episode 4 to 6, I call it the Tarvalon arc because they spend all their time in freaking Tarvalon. Most of the characters spend most of their time in Tarvalon.
Yep.
Okay, so episode 4 is called. This is also where it deviates quite a lot from the books. Okay, and that's where I feel a bit angry.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll get to that. So episode 4 is called The Dragon Reborn. So Egwene and Perrine are still traveling with the Tinkers, so they're introduced to the Way of the Leaf. Tom, Ran, and Matt come across this rural family where the biggest scene I get is where the little girl hands him Matt his doll, right? Her doll. Tom tells Ran that he suspects Matt might be a channeler, as it reminds Tom of his nephew Owen, who was gentled by the Aes Sedai. That night, the whole family is killed by a fate, or what we think they're killed by a fate. Tom distracts it, and Ran and Matt escapes. Moraine is healed by the Aes Sedai with the group that she's with, and Logain is shown that he is held down. He's controlled by 2 of the stronger Aes Sedai. Leandrin wants to gentle Logain, which is to basically cut him from the source, but Moraine believes he might be the Dragon Reborn. So Logain's followers arrive, very few of them in the series, just as Logain breaks through his prison. Kareen of the Green Aja is killed while Lan's throat is slit. At this point, Nynaeve goes Super Saiyan and heals everyone, but not Kareen. All right. And then after that, Leandrin gentles Logain. Okay. I will stop here because this is a very packed episode. And I think we'll spend a lot of time talking about it. So, okay, we'll go in reverse order now. So I'll explain a little bit of what this is also quite similar to the book as well. Okay, with a few notable exceptions. But I actually thought, minus the whole Logain followers, like I think there were only 10 of them that came to save him. What seemed like 10 of them? Did you guys realize this? Does it weird to you guys as well? Here is this like
This
supposed
epic fight.
and then 10 of them show up. I'm like, what? This looks like 1,000 or something.
We can
But
talk
anyway,
about Darwin's Gap. Let's move on.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So I mean 10 of them come. But regardless, I think it was a good episode. Like I enjoyed the episode because it showed there was this tension between like, oh crap. It's like he's like Logain is strong enough that they need. Although in the book, you need 13 female channelers to keep the one male channeler down. You need a circle, something called a circle. And in the book, right, a circle has 13 sisters, full sisters. Yeah. Okay. So when they said they only have 2 sisters, I'm like, wow, he really wants equality. but anyway, ladies are stronger at other things. But in terms of like raw power, okay, so this is law points, right? In terms of raw power, spirit and fire, men are stronger, which is like the elements that are like used to fight with lah. But ladies are generally stronger in water, which is good for like healing and all that stuff. Okay. So I actually thought this was the most exciting part, except for the freaking Nynaeve part at the end, which doesn't happen in the book. Okay? So to me, it doesn't happen in the book. And Nynaeve's character arc has a different problem. Okay, Nynaeve's problem in the books is that she is very, very powerful. She is, as they say, the most powerful female channeler they've met in a long time. But her biggest thing is she has something called a block. So she cannot control her power. And when she wants to try to use it, she cannot use it. Okay, so that's a big thing in the book. Chris, you want to go next?
I think my impressions of this episode's actually changed quite a bit. Because when I watched it for the first time, I didn't remember most of what they were trying to depict, for example. So I watched it purely as on its own merits, which I thought was fine. You know, there'll be a bit of more character development, they move the story along, there's a cool fight scene at the end, and you get to see Logain. But I do think my impression of the episodes changed a bit after I went back and reread book 1. Because I think at that point you realize that there's actually quite a lot of deviation here. Right? For example, in the books, they don't. I mean, I'm halfway through book 2 and they still haven't gotten to Tarvalon.
Yeah.
The battle that happens, if it happens in the books, it's never described.
No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in the books. He just because they go to a completely different city and Logain just appears there, or rather he's brought there. So it's one of those things when I went back to read, I was like, okay, like that's when you realize that they've really, that's when I realized just how much they had started to deviate. Because before going back to read the books, I was actually just watching the show on its own merits, more or less until we got to the last episode of the series, and that's when a lot of weird things start happening that I for sure remember that that's not how it happens.
We will get there.
Yeah, but it's now when I went back to read the book and then I was trying to and then I remembered what happened in the story. I was like, okay, so they've basically cut out almost all the locations, and replaced it with Tarvalon, basically. Far earlier than it should have happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And then as we talk about the other episodes, we'll see where the knock-on effect comes in and how they had to create new story points to make up for the fact that they are in a place that they shouldn't be, basically.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know from Quan and Marv, and you guys can share together also, because I will talk more about this, but from a non-book reader, like what Chris said, right? Chris watched it without reading the book, and he thought it was good. He thought it was fine, self-contained story. But what do you guys think of this episode?
I thought giving Logain's background story was quite cool, right?
Yeah.
Like he caused this massive problem in his area, and then needs to be controlled by Aes Sedai. But you're completely right. When I realized that 2 or 3 channelers could basically lock down his power, I'm like, okay, so he's just slightly more powerful than the average Aes Sedai, right? Like you can take on 2 or 3 of them, right? But not much of a threat, right? The power difference isn't that great. But when hearing you say it's 13, that is hugely different, right? And I think the threat level would have been escalated, right? When you watch that episode, I enjoyed the episode until the Nynaeve part. When Lan died, I was really like, oh my god, like, are they really going to kill off Lan? Is this like Game of Thrones? It was a super Game of Thrones moment, right? And I was like, no, you can't kill like this guy. He's so cool, right?
Yeah.
But when they did this whole like Overwatch Mercy Heroes Never Die kind of moment where everybody just gets
Mass
resurrected.
resurrection.
Yeah, right. This mass
Except
ranting.
one.
Anduin,
Except one.
Anduin.
One,
Only
yeah,
one person
except
doesn't.
one.
He was Anduin in
Except-
the Battle for Azeroth
Yeah,
cinematic. Yeah.
and then you're just like, they're so cheap, and it's within like 5 minutes, right, or less of Len dying.
No,
Of that
She
moment
just
that
comes
has
in
so
and does it.
yeah of so much gravitas is just annihilated with that cheap moment. So I think the whole episode builds this tension and interest only to completely flop at it at the end, which is quite sad lah. Yeah.
Okay. Marv, do you agree?
Okay. So for me, it's a bit different. As
Yeah.
a non-book reader, I was pretty invested in Matt and Rand's story, like journey. I felt it was a bit more interesting, with the dagger and all. But I'll be honest, for Egwene and Perrin, every time like the scene shifts to them, I'm like, can we just
It's
move
a
on? So
Frodo and
boring.
Sam moment.
No, even Frodo and Sam are like more interesting, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just feel that like Egwene's and Perrin's journey with the
Because they didn't
what
follow the
the
book.
thinkers, right? I'm like, I don't really give a damn. Like honestly, I don't give a damn
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
what happening to
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I don't care about this whole pacifist group.
Mm.
What are they learning? They're not even learning anything, right?
Mm.
They were like trying to
Okay.
teach them the way to live, but I'm like, how does it even relate to the story? It just feels like a
Yeah.
filler episode of an anime. Right? Honestly, yeah.
We can explain to you what purpose they actually
Yeah.
serve in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'll get into that because when we talk about character arcs, like which character, what the arcs are supposed to go to, you will understand. I think Chris and I totally understand what the director is trying to do, but he just does it really
Yeah.
badly.
So that's why. So from a non-book reader perspective, I'm like, what's happened? Like at least
Mm.
even if you don't want to review, what's the payoff? There should be a thread, right?
Yes.
There
Yes.
should be something to draw you in. But to me, I just felt like, can we just move on from their scenes? And I want to see like the rest. Okay, so obviously like the Aes Sedai scenes are a lot better. I will agree that I did enjoy it when they showed like Logain's backstory and then they brought him in.
Yep.
So I didn't know that. Obviously, I didn't know that he needed like in the book you need 13 female channels. So I don't know. But to me, it was cool. I was like, oh, he's so powerful that he requires like two rotating
People
out
to
of
hold him
three,
down.
like super
Yeah,
good,
sure.
super powerful Aes Sedai to hold him down, right? I felt differently from Ian regarding the death scene. So like I knew Daniel Haney is not gonna die. Like he's probably gonna last.
Paid
like,
way
at
too
least
much.
Through he's gonna last throughout the season. But so when she healed everybody, I mean obviously except Karine. But okay, I can
Like,
understand
Emma.
the whole like implication that they just died or they just got mortally
Yeah.
wounded, so she could revive them. But Karine is probably like zombified already. Like if she breathes, she'll be undead, right? She won't be human anymore.
5-second rule.
Yeah, too long already. So okay, I understand that. And at the point of watching, like at the end of episode 4, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. She's so powerful. Like, it's the first time that we see her power. I was like, wow, big things for her, man. Like she's gonna be super important. But just to jump ahead to episode 8, when they did it again, I was like,
You're like, dude, you can't do it twice.
I was like,
Yeah.
why? Why did you do it twice? It totally cheapens the first one. If somebody
Yes.
else can do it
Yeah.
too. Yeah. So I mean that's just to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I will say that the reason why I think the reason why they had this scene is because their big mystery for the first 7 episodes is who is the Dragon Reborn.
Yes.
And they're trying, and each episode, right, if you follow 4, 5, 6, is like each person has their own time in the sun. Oh, it could be Egwene. Oh, it could be Nynaeve.
Yeah. So we found
Although it's
Egwene can
definitely not.
channel, then Nynaeve can heal. Perrin has like
But-
the connection with the wolves. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so weird because it's definitely not Nynaeve. Right? Because Nynaeve isn't even in the prophecy. She doesn't fit the prophecy. So it doesn't even like work in her respect, right? It doesn't make you go, she could be the Dragon Reborn. Because technically she doesn't fit. She's not in the consideration. She's not a candidate.
Mhm.
Okay. To go to your idea of why Perrin and Egwene's story is so weird and so slow, it's because they are missing a major character in the show, which they have in the books. So there's this character called Ilias Makara, right? Who he's similar to Perrin. He's called a wolf brother. So Perrin's, I'm sure you got it by now, right? Perrin's whole ability is like he can communicate, he can
Yep.
talk to wolves, right? He
Yep.
has this like thing. So he meets Elias
He's
Macara,
Jacob
who, yeah,
from Twilight.
kind of, right? And this whole like this relationship with Elias kind of drives the whole their arc
Okay.
and their arc of and also Perrin is trying to discover his own, like, why does he have this ability?
Okay.
Because obviously you find out you can talk to wolves, you'll be like you'll be like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
can talk to wolves, maybe I'm a bad guy, kind of thing, right? So I won't talk more about Elias. Maybe Chris wants to share more.
No, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
The whole reason why they end up, well, okay, that's not the whole reason, but yeah. So basically, he's the guy that's there to he's supposed to help Perrin understand
Yep.
what's
This power.
going
Yeah.
on with him. Right, acceptance of what's going on with him doesn't come until later on, but he's there to help explain exactly what it is that's going on, rather than us being left with, him looking at wolves and the wolves looking at him for
His eyes
several random
going
scenes.
It's
going
like
gold,
yellow.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then letting the audience try to infer that they are somehow communicating.
Yeah.
And even that scene could have been made in such a way that follows the book, because in the books the wolves communicate via a series of images in the mind, right?
Yeah.
He sees images that the wolves see. That's how they communicate in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, this could have been done in the show. I don't know, but anyway, I also think that the Tuatha as a people aren't just there as filler, right? In the books, there's actually a very important interaction that they tell to Elias, Perrin, and Egwene, which is an encounter that they had with the ale, and basically they meet because so the Tuatha as a group are, because they're so peaceful, they are generally accepted almost everywhere, even in places like the ale waste, where normally the ale would basically just kill anybody who comes in. Like the Tuatha have a pass, they're allowed to enter, for example. So that group actually tells them of an encounter that they had with a dying ale in the waste, and that person passes them a message to say, pass this message on, which is basically about the Dark One and his plans, effectively. And that eventually eventually gets passed to I think it eventually gets to Moraine. Through that, through Egwene and Perrin eventually. And that's one of the reasons why she sets out to look for the Eye of the World in the first place.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So it makes
Not just a bunch of hippies.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, the Tuatha also play a very big part in Perrin's arc. But later I'll get to that. Why it's important.
So none of this is communicated in the episode.
No, yeah, none of it's
or
communicated.
even later on about the importance of this whole hippie group, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Tuathan will come back. Like, they are an important group in the book. So I think they might want to try to convey this message maybe in season 2. But as of it, just in its entirety in season 1, like you said, they're just a hippie group.
Can I just interject here? And I wanted to talk about the clothes that they wear.
Yeah.
And I don't know if all of you noticed, but for some reason, right, whatever they wear, and this was particularly like stark when the Tuata'an were introduced. Like, everything just looks overly like pristine. I don't know how to put it across, but like, it just doesn't look authentic. Like, you look at the dressing in Game of Thrones, right? You think, yeah, okay, it's appropriate, right? It's theme appropriate, it's age appropriate. You look at Lord of the Rings, you feel that as well. But here, you just feel like, I don't know, the costumes are just so modern. Like, they feel out of place. To me, lah. I'm not sure if that's something that
Chris,
the
did you
rest
feel
of you
that
feel
as
as
well?
well.
I thought they were okay. Because to me, right, the Tuathan are modern, are gypsies. Like, that's how I always envisioned them.
No,
They're
correct,
gypsies. Yeah. So they're like, they tried to go for like colorful, look almost like a circus kind of look. But maybe they're too clean. You're right.
They might be a bit too
in that
clean.
aspect.
I think clean is like the problem. Because I'm looking
Clean?
at pictures. Clean is the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe
I'm
they're
just
too
looking
clean
at
already for
pictures of
gypsies.
Like even the white cloaks, the red aja,
Oh, okay. The white
everything,
cloaks
right?
are
I know, but
okay.
everything is like so vibrant, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like they have been on the road for a while.
Mm.
It looks like they just walked
But-
off the dressing set.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's definitely, I think that's definitely an executive decision to make it's like a color. They wanted to make it not so dark and gritty. I think that's their intention. And I
I
think
think
this is something we're gonna have to live with for the next
that
season.
that works when you're talking about like the Aes Sedai who are, meant to be powerful, right? But like a nomadic tribe of people
No,
or
wait
like
till you get
village
to the
people.
wait till we talk about Faldarans. Then that's my pet peeve. Why is Lord Algama the Mandarin? Okay, anyway. Okay, let me go to the next two episodes. Okay, so let's finish this arc. Okay, Blood Calls Blood is the fifth episode. In this, the Aes Sedai bury the dead and they break camp. They leave for the White Tower, which takes 2 months, by the way. There's a time skip in this. Moraine warns Nynaeve that Aes Sedai cannot be trusted, which is to me very weird, considering that the whole time she tells the EF4 they need to go to the White Tower. All right. And then when they reach Tarvalon, Logain is paraded, and the other warders console Stepin. So Stepin is Kareen's warder. Okay. Alana, which is the one with like 4 warders. Do you remember this?
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
Aes Sedai with 4 warders and 2 gay warders, I think. They warn Marine that Leandrin is up to something and informs her that the Emerlin is arriving. The next morning, Lan finds Stepin dead by suicide, and there is a day of mourning. All right, this is not in chronological. That obviously is the end of the episode, but I'm just following that arc. Okay, Egwene and Perrin, Miles' favorite, are still traveling with the Tinkers, and they get ambushed by the White Cloaks. They try to escape, but they get captured by Valda and are tortured. As Valda wants to force Egwene to channel. But in this scenario, wolves attack the camp, allowing them to escape. Now we go back to Ren and Matt. Ren and Matt make it to Tarvalon, and Matt is getting worse. Ren meets Loyal, who's this Ogier, who mistakes Ren for an Aiel, or Ale, depending on how you say it, and reunites Ren and Matt with Nynaeve. Okay? Episode 6, quick one. The Flame of Tarvalon. We finally meet Swan Sanch, who is the Emerald Seat, and we get a flashback of her backstory as a fisherman's daughter. I don't know how many remember that flashback, or even know that it was a flashback. Okay, she questions Leandrin for unauthorized gentling, but Leandrin flips it around and questions Moraine's unauthorized traveling with no supervision. Moraine finds out Rand and Matt are around, heals Matt from the tainted dagger, and discovers that that's the cause of his madness. Okay, Moraine also discovers Egwene and Perrin, and now everybody is back in Tarvalon. Okay, the Blue Sister then orders Moraine to stay at the tower, and we are introduced to this very interesting relationship between Moraine and the Emerald Seed, who we found out have both hatched a plan to find the Dragon Reborn. So they're in it together. Okay. Moraine brings Egwene and Nynaeve to meet the Emerlin, and Moraine is exiled by Swan, but it's a ruse so that she can leave. Okay. Moraine brings the EF4 and Nynaeve together with Loyal to a waygate where they plan to travel to the Eye of the World. At this point, we remember this scene. Matt.
And he's just like,
yeah. This is
bye.
emo.
No, it's not that. It's definitely cut it. Okay, but anyway, Matt hesitates and doesn't enter. That's the end of episode 6. Okay. Wow. Okay, what do you guys think?
Where to start, man?
Where to start? Okay, maybe we start first by explaining the differences between this and the book. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the book, they don't get to Tarvalon, right? Okay, Tarvalon, they only enter Tarvalon in book 2, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and okay, Chris, this might sound controversial to you, but the more I read it, the more I feel like it's not that big of a deal. I don't have a big deal that they cut out Camelin. Okay, so the city that they do actually go to is a place called Camelin, which is basically Wheel of Time's England. That's how I always imagined it. Okay, Wheel of Time England. Okay, and when they go to Camelin, actually a lot of the stuff that they're talking about here does happen. Right? They all kind of meet together. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't happen as well, but they kind of all meet together. They find Matt and his curse with the dagger and all these different things. But okay, Steppen is not a thing in the books. Who the heck is this water? Like when I have no idea. Like when they showed this, he had like 20% of the runtime in episode 5.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was like, I don't remember this guy at all in the books. Then I went to go read it, and he's like, he's not even inside. Okay, but I think what the director's trying to go for is he's trying to re-emphasize the bond between Water and Aes Sedai.
Yep.
He's trying to say the bond is so strong that when one dies, the other almost wants to commit suicide or does commit suicide. And in that sense, it is law friendly. It is true in the books as well that the bond between Water and Aes Sedai is strong enough that when one dies, the other almost forgets that they want to live.
Yeah,
And it's why
throughout like the early episodes, I think they do hint that the
Yeah.
bond between them are like all of them are very strong, right? Like
Yes.
each pair or each group. Yeah.
Mm.
So I guess
Yep.
this one was like a way for us to see without repercussions on the main cast, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so much so that in the books, what happens is that what the Aes Sedai, she can have a contingency plan. So what she does is that when she can pass her bond on to someone else. So when she dies, the bond immediately passes someone else so that the Water doesn't instantly kill himself. So he has like a reason to live, to protect his new Aes Sedai. Okay? So they obviously can't explain that well, not obviously, but they didn't explain it in this.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So I'll let Chris fill out any of the other blanks that I missed. But another part that is missing is this whole Egwene Perrin thing, right? Which I think is very badly done when they're ambushed by the White Cloaks. Okay, so let's talk about Perrin's arc in this case, because the whole shtick about Perrin is his propensity for violence, which I don't think you guys got. Did you guys get it?
No.
Okay.
Nope,
No.
not at
So
all.
Egwene, you know what is Perrin's job? You guys know?
He's a blacksmith, right?
Yes, he's a
I thought
blacksmith.
the wife so he was also a blacksmith.
Oh yeah, so that's the thing. His wife, his new wife, I don't know. Was she? Yeah, she's a blacksmith, right? But
She
was he
was
a
a blacksmith.
blacksmith? Chris, do you
Both
remember?
of them,
Was he-
right? I think.
Maybe they run the
I
blacksmith
don't
together?
remember.
Yeah, they own a blacksmithing business.
I don't think they actually explain it very well. As
But
a matter of fact,
they showed her.
the only thing that we see is that he goes to look for his wife, who's in the blacksmith
Correct.
forging
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they show her as
Yeah.
the more blacksmithy blacksmith.
They don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they expressly say that
He
he
does
is
the accounting.
a blacksmith.
He does the accounting. Yeah. So Perrin's whole arc, right? And this happens not just in book one. It will happen the rest of the books, right? It's his whole in the books, right? He has to choose between the hammer and the axe. So that the ability to create and the ability to destroy.
Oh, right.
So his
okay.
whole shtick, right,
He's
is
Thor
about
lah, basically.
he is so easy. He feels that violence is so easy for him, and he's afraid of it. This is the whole reason why he's introduced to the Way of the Leaf.
You see
This whole-
that doesn't
Yeah.
come out in the show.
Not at all.
To be fair, that arc doesn't come out very much in book one either. Like
It comes up because when he kills the White Cloaks, though, and he feels this insane amount of guilt that he killed the White Cloaks to save Elias.
In the
Right?
books,
Do you remember
right?
that? In the books. So in the books, right, they front loaded his character up. They made him kill his wife. Then he stuck with his grief for like the whole episode, for the whole season.
Yeah.
In the books, he kills the White Cloak, and from there he starts to feel this
But that's
the
the
weight of his guilt.
difference is like in the TV show, he kills his wife by mistake, not because
He's violent.
they didn't show
Yeah.
like he was overcome with violence and then
Oh.
like blood rage, and then he just
Yeah.
decided to like destroy everybody around him. It was just he heard something behind him and then he swung the whatever
Yeah.
it was, right? So there is no indication that he's grappling
Struggling.
with violence. Like his
Uh,
inner turmoil is violence throughout like the whole season. I didn't see it at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, it was just guilt, right? Just guilt over
it's
killing
just
his
like
wife.
he was just
Yeah.
like brooding, and then he was feeling guilty for like
Yeah.
the first half of the season, and then after he started to like suddenly there's this thing with
Yeah.
Wolves.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
It-
even that part where he was captured by the White Cloaks,
Yeah.
right? Like okay, it's predictable because his eyes are glowing gold and all that.
Oh,
So like I was like, okay lah, the wolves are gonna save him because they've been like foreshadowing this for like the last few episodes, right? Where the wolves are like following them. Yeah, but it didn't feel to me like there was no like catharsis. I was like, I didn't feel like, oh yes, they came to rescue him. I was like, okay, so that's his gimmick. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have Ilias, that's the whole thing. They didn't build his relationship with the wolves at all.
Yeah.
no, and again, going back to the idea of these menacing white cloaks,
Mm.
they got beaten by wolves. Like
No, by puppies.
poor wolves. Yeah,
Puppy wolves.
like huskies. You know, like hardly menacing at
They should have
all.
made them direwolf size, like
No, that's
Game of
Chris. Did
Thrones
you
size.
imagine them as direwolf size?
No, to me they're just
you
wolves.
imagine-
But again, that scene, the scene of his or not, the scene where he's after he's been captured and his rescue is almost completely 100% different from what
Yes.
happened in the book.
It is. It is.
The only part that is the same is that Perrin gets tortured.
Yes.
That's probably the only part that's the same.
Yeah.
The rescue
It's
is
none of
completely
thi-
different. Even the
Yeah.
circumstances of how he gets captured is also completely different.
So in the
Oh.
books, did he channel these wolves as well?
Not channeling. He doesn't
Not,
channel,
not
but
Or
channel.
he
He doesn't have to
summoned
channel in order to communicate,
Mm.
right? But
They come
because
to his
in the
rescue.
story he's already
Yeah.
met Elias,
Yeah.
and he already sort of has an understanding. He is with Elias and a handful of wolves when they run into the children.
uh-huh.
And they
So-
suspect him to be a dark friend.
Yeah, so eventually he gets captured. There's a fight between, or rather, the wolves. The wolves and Elias manage to injure some of the children back and forth, blah blah blah. But eventually they fight off the wolves and they capture the two of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The rescue is actually carried out by Moraine, Lan, and
Mm.
Nynaeve.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Wolves.
Although he does kill 2 white cloaks though before he leaves.
Yeah, correct. So he does kill 2 white cloaks, right? But as
Perrin
part
does.
of the bit where he's trying to fight, like before he gets captured.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say that even with that, him carrying that guilt about having killed the 2 white cloaks, I don't think the book 1 makes it very clear that he has that
okay.
rage aspect to him. Like, it makes it feel as though he's just guilty because he's never killed people before.
Okay. It's like
Right?
a
In the
like
book,
first time.
these are the first people that he's killed.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't have to kill his imaginary wife in the first 30 seconds of the show. But yeah, so that's what it makes it feel like. Like he's guilty about taking like lives when he's
Yeah.
never done that before. And at the same time not fully understanding what on earth is happening to him as far as the whole, communicating with wolves thing.
Yeah.
Like that his journey to acceptance of who he's becoming is the main thing, the main arc from book 1.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
By the way, Perrin is like one of my favorite characters, even though he's so bad in this. Yeah.
Like even in the TV series, he's one of your favorite characters.
No, in the future he sucks. He's horrible. He's like a victim in a horror movie. He shows up to the scene and he just looks lost.
Oh, angry,
Really?
angry and
Really?
broody.
Really. What you watch later on? Like later we go to next episodes. But do you guys? Okay, so that's mostly episode 5. Episode 6 is where like it's all the Tarvalon stuff. Like where Moraine gets kicked out of the White Tower. How did you guys feel about the
Yeah,
White Tower?
I never read the books. And the moment there was that romantic scene between Moraine and Suan, I was like, this definitely did not happen.
Because the books
I
were
didn't even
written in,
have
like
to
what,
like
1980s.
1980, yeah.
no,
I
but
think
like
Guy
there's
of
no
the
setup
World.
to it at all, right? It's like she looks piningly at this picture, and then suddenly like, whoa, intimate scene. You know?
I ask you, Chris, do you think it's a Talonroid? Do you think they went to Talonroid? Or do you think it's just like it's just a secret place that they went to?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure.
I wasn't sure that they went to the Talonroid at all.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I'm
sorry,
not sure.
this is book spoilers, but you
Yeah.
guys don't know the Talonroid yet.
Yeah. But
Context.
I mean, okay, so I agree with you that them cutting out Kim Lin or moving it to a later part of the show, probably not such a big deal.
Yeah.
But the problem is that because they cut out Kim Lin, then they have to come up with more things in order to change the narrative, right? Like the whole exiling of Moraine doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Moraine doesn't get exiled from Tavalon. You know why? Because they don't go to Tavalon. In the book. So none of this crap
They are in a place
happens.
that they're not supposed to be. They've had to create this additional, plot point that they will eventually have to come back to resolve.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe they do other things.
yeah, so now you have the question is like, okay, so I know that this doesn't happen in the books. Then the question now becomes, how are they going to resolve this new development in a way that's consistent with what happens later?
Yeah, and it's a snowball syndrome, right? You keep changing
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Eventually, you're just gonna run. Right, you're just gonna be like, I know I'm not gonna follow the books at all. I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fair, you know. I think by the time we get at where we are when we've completed the series, I don't think
It'll be the same.
I don't even think it's fair to call Wheel of Time as a show, an adaptation of the books anymore.
It's in the universe.
It'll be based
Yeah.
Multiverse.
on
Based-
the
Not.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with Game of Thrones, right? The first like 3 to 4 seasons were pretty loyal to the books, but after that, like season 5 onwards, there was
'cause he
there was
he
so
didn't write
many
the books yet, what?
differences. No, like he wrote the books all the way. He has written everything up to the last 2 books.
Yeah, I said that's the books.
So basically, like even from season 4 onwards, there was really deviation, like huge deviations. For example, you know what's the guy's name? The King's Guard, Barristan
Barristan Selmy?
Barristan Selmy. Yeah, so he dies in. I mean, spoilers, but he dies in the TV series, right? But in the books, he doesn't die. He actually leaves Joffrey, and then he finds the surviving Targaryen prince.
Oh yeah, that's
The
right.
what was
Yeah.
it called? The Young Falcon or something like that. I can't remember. There's a nickname for him.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other arc, you know, in the books where he actually finds the Targaryen prince and then he goes and supports him. Like he throws his weight behind. But you know, obviously in the show they didn't even there isn't even this character.
Yeah.
Right. They just scrapped him
Yeah.
off. So that's just like one example. And the fact that they're doing it so quickly in Wheel of Time
Shows they're not probably.
just tells me that they're probably not going to give a damn about the books very soon. Yeah.
Already,
Yeah.
actually.
Let's hope. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the meat, which is episode 7, episode 8. So
Wait, we haven't talked about Matt yet.
Oh,
we
yeah,
haven't
okay.
talked about
You haven't talked about Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so in the books, right? Okay, in the books, he needs to go to Tavalon because he needs to remove the taint from the dagger. And to remove the taint from the dagger, he needs a circle. He needs 13 sisters to channel the taint out of him, right? But in this version of Wheel of Time, Maureen just wee, and then he's okay already.
No. That's not technically correct. He still has the taint. He still needs.
Oh, you think so?
No. I think they did say it. Like she says that
Oh.
she's only it's only temporary, so he still needs to do that shit.
Okay.
But the difference is that again, he doesn't follow them into the ways,
Yeah.
and we all believe it's because they are changing actors for
Yeah.
Matt.
He left. Okay, so he left. Episode 6 was when COVID happened.
Ah,
And then during the COVID period, he left that scene. So I don't necessarily blame them for what happened when he left. Like I understand why they had to cut him off the ways because he technically is really not with them anymore.
Like he quit He quit the show, right?
He quit.
The actor
He
quit
left the show, which
So-
is why if you watch the episode 6, right, it looks really strange. That he
Like
looks
the editing is very weird, right?
It's so funny. He's like looking around, Matt. It's so
Where's the
hilarious.
sound coming from?
So in the books, he follows them to the way.
Yes.
Like, through
Yes,
the
he
waypoint.
goes to them through the ways. They
Oh,
all
he
go
does.
to them.
Oh, right.
They all go
Okay.
to the ways. They all go
Okay.
to the ways.
Can I ask this taint of the dagger? Why is it so poisonous? Because that's not. All I see is
I
he's
assume
taken
there is
something he's not supposed
like there's
to
a
take.
further development down the road that we
Did they
don't know.
explain
the
Mashda
development
at all?
the development should have happened several episodes
It happened.
before when they were in
It
Shida
is the
Logoth.
reason. It is the reason why Shadow Logoth is so freaking dangerous. That is the why the Trollocs didn't dare to go in at the first
Yeah,
place.
it is
Because
tied
this
into the
taint
backstory.
is so dangerous that even the Trollocs have to be pushed in. And actually Moiraine and Lan actually tells them don't pick up anything. But Matt is stupid in this case. So he picks up everything.
Yeah. But in this iteration of that, it almost feels like an Aladdin moment, right? That he takes something he's not supposed to take. Oh, bad boy! Then
Yeah.
like you get a taint.
Yeah.
But it's not
Which
like
is-
something so
To be fair, it's kind of like
demonically.
similar to the books as well.
So to be fair, that's still somewhat similar. Like he's
Okay.
still an Aladdin moment. He's still taken something that he's not supposed to take. But
Yeah.
the books explains why taking that thing is such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
it's
tied
a
in,
backstory.
yeah, it is tied into the backstory of that city, which is not explored at all.
Yeah, and also the city is very important to Law later on.
Hmm.
Like Shadow Logoth will come back. Like Mashda is important. So don't worry, they will, unless they change that whole thing, which will be very weird. But it is very important.
You hope that they will further develop.
That
Mashda
part is
and
really
Shadow Logoth.
that scene which involves Shadow Logoth is very cool. So I really hope they don't take it away.
Okay.
Uh But okay. Anything else regarding Matt that you guys talk?
I will say that out of the four, Matt is the one that I hate the least.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
As in terms of
Yeah.
acting, is it?
Yep.
Yes.
He's actually really good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Like
Matt is
I
also
was
very
most
cool in the books.
convinced by his acting in terms of getting corrupted and then
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And I think he was very
okay.
human also, right? When he saved his sisters,
Yep.
when
Yes.
you connected with the little girl, like you could connect with him.
Whereas the
Yeah.
rest of
Okay,
them,
so let's-
I feel like I have said before, I feel like they were just plucked off the street and then given a major role.
Yeah.
And like I don't feel like they have the acting chops, to pull off like lead character. Okay, so disclaimer. First episode, at the end of first episode, Shirley and I were like, we think Ren is the main character and we think he's the Dragon Reborn. That was what we felt. But then at the same time, we were kind of like
He's
he
acting so
doesn't,
bad cannot be.
like his acting is like really bad. Like he's really stale and really choppy. They were like, how is he gonna be the main character if his acting is like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your opinion change of him in episode 8?
No. But if anything, I think that my opinion of him went down as an actor.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like in terms of depth and like scope of emotions,
Yeah.
every other character other than Matt is quite one dimensional.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt shows a range of emotions and concerns and all of that. Like
Yep.
there's just so much more depth to the character.
Yep.
I don't know
Chris,
whether
you
it's
know-
the writing, but
Chris, you know why this is so funny? Because in book 1, actually, Matt is like literally the least important. Like he's basically just affected by the dagger so much that
Yeah.
he's like he has to be carried by Ran everywhere. Basically for like half the book, right? Actually, okay, in the book, right, Ran, Matt, and Tom travel for quite a long time together.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like that whole like Perrin, Egwene, and Elias, Matt, Ren, and Tom is like half of the book. Maybe not half, 30-40% of the book. And then he's a gleeman, right? So he can juggle everything. So he actually like teaches Matt how to do all these things. They build a really strong relationship. And Tom is also important, right? So he's disappeared in the story, but he's actually an important character.
But Tom is like only
So-
like in like 2 episodes of season 1.
Yes, but
Yeah,
he's
man.
very important. He's very important. Unless they make him not important, but he's important. So anyway,
They might
oh,
they might just cut him out because this is getting into super spoiler territory.
Yeah. We
No,
Yeah.
but we should shout out that the song that the Gleeman sang
was good,
was
right?
really good, and like John, well done.
Yeah.
So I think in the books, right, Matt ironically has the least character development because he's
Until
just
later on.
corrupted by
Yeah.
his until later on. Like Matt is very cool. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
ask you, what do you think Matt's character arc? So if Perrin is the dichotomy between violence and peace, what do you think Matt's character arc is? They kind of alluded to it a little bit,
Not
kind of.
I
the most-
assume he's
Yeah.
the one that will thread between the dark and the light.
Yeah,
Like
Mm,
like good
like
and
he
bad.
might turn.
No,
Oh.
they almost
He's not a Kylo Ren.
No,
No.
not really. But they
he's
almost
a
they
he's
ne-
a knave
they touch on it almost
a
in
little
a
bit with his
most
sister.
minuscule way possible. And I'm assuming that you and I are talking about the what he eventually becomes lah. But yeah, you have no idea.
Does he
Honestly.
become like a dark friend or like he?
No, okay. So Matt, Perrin, and Ren are Taveran, which they never explain in this show. But
Like the
later on-
important point in the weave
yes,
of
which
wheel,
is
right?
also another pet peeve of mine. They
Royal
don't
mentioned
explain the
it for like
pattern.
5 seconds.
They don't mention the pattern. They don't explain why this show is called the
Yeah.
Wheel of Time.
Just
None
say
of this,
the
like you
wheel
don't.
weaves as the wheel wills.
Yes,
They just
and
keep
they don't talk
repeating
about
that
the
over
pattern.
and over.
Yeah, but everybody's like, "What the heck is the wheel? What the heck is the wheel?" Okay, anyway, but Matt's character arc, most of his character arc is that he will say that he doesn't want to be a hero, but he is a hero. He will do the right thing.
He's like Amos from
Wow.
The Expanse.
I didn't know what it is.
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah,
do you
yeah,
agree?
Right? Yeah.
Chris, do you
yeah.
agree?
Your
Uh,
anti-hero lah.
Not really
Right.
anti-hero, more of like the reluctant hero. Right?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Little bit.
But he
Like he doesn't
there's-
want to be a hero, but when shit hits the fan, he will do what is
What
needed,
needs to be done?
right?
Yeah, I guess.
Kind of.
But I really don't want to say too much more because
Yeah.
Okay,
He has
okay.
a lot of
Like,
stuff actually.
he is
Okay.
one of my favorite characters in the books.
Oh wow.
I think.
Okay.
Like he's
I hope the replacement actor is
Donald
Yeah.
Trump. Yeah.
Dear God, please.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
yeah, but he becomes very interesting later on.
Yes.
Like
Yeah. He has
and
the
he has his
most.
own his own little thing that his own little quirk that I think was barely even touched on at
What
all.
the luck is it?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
luck and like the bit about him hearing dice rolling in his head.
Yeah. So he has
Yeah.
something called the duck. They call it duck one's own luck. So basically, he's
He's
very
the gambling
lucky.
king.
Basically,
Yeah,
exactly. Basically, like he can gamble and he can like kind of like force the dice, force the
To
pattern to fit.
Yeah,
Like,
Tushan.
hey, basically that was what it is. He can fit the pattern to his to work to his outcome.
it's almost like a form of foretelling because
Yeah.
he can hear the
The dice
like
in his head.
it's almost like a
Spider sense. His spider
sense,
sense.
something like that, right? He can hear that thing in his mind that only he, and then based on that he can sort of have an idea of how things are gonna go.
It only dice or any kind of like situation.
No. As in like
No, the dice
real
is
life
imaginary.
situations.
It's just something
He
that's
hears the
it's
dice in his head.
noise. It's
Yeah.
an image that he has in his mind.
So the foretelling is only for gambling or like
no, for
No,
that's
anything.
his power.
everything.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
like-
spider sense
it's like-
lah.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool.
something like Spider Sense, but
It's Felix Felicis.
Okay.
yeah, but it's portrayed in the form of dice because and the only time that they allude to this in the show is that he seems to
Like gambling.
there was the one segment where he was basically gambling, right?
Episode-
But
episode
Oh
one.
yeah, one of the first few.
Episode
Yeah.
one.
yeah, episode 1, and that's it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I was like, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so and to be fair, in book 1, they don't talk about this bit of his character doesn't come out at all because
Okay.
as you said,
Okay.
Okay.
in book 1 he's basically just an invalid, right?
Yeah.
So
He's
that
an
doesn't
invalid,
come
really.
out until quite a bit later, but
Yeah.
he
Book two.
gets there, right?
He's very important book 2.
Yes.
Which I'll get to later at the we talk about the what do you think will happen in season 2. Okay. So let's continue on first. We were like I'm looking at time. So episode 7 because there's going to be the most to talk about in these 2 egregious episodes. Okay, episode 7 is the dark along the ways. So the 2 rivers, the EF4 and the villagers follow Moraine into the ways, arguing about who to return for Matt, but in the end they continue forward. Loyal, the Ogier, guides them along the ways which has been corrupted. The group encounters a Trolloc. Egwene repels the Trolloc, but the one power attracts Machin Shin, right, or the Black Wind, which provokes their deepest fears. Nynaeve repels Machin Shin with the power, while Moraine opens the way gate to Faldara. So a man also in the ways follows them to Faldara. Once again, there they argue with Moraine and reveals that whoever's not the dragon would die if they reach the eye of the world. Moraine visits the seer Min Farshaw, or Elmindreda. You don't know her real name, but later. Nynaeve and Len, who is declared to be the heir to the lost kingdom of Melchior, have sex. Egwene and Ren reconcile. Yeah. Brienne recalls that Tam was present at the Battle of the Shining Walls and encounters a pregnant maiden of the spear who dies, giving birth to Ren, whom Tam raised.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
So actually so the cold opening of this episode is where like the Maiden of the Spear kills like everybody and then gives birth. Okay? And then at the last part, Ren is revealed to have channeled to escape both an earlier dark friend and he's the one that channeled to save them in the ways.
Yeah.
Alright? And then Ren and Moraine both leave Faldara to go to the Eye of the World, leaving the rest behind. Okay, let's just talk about episode 7. Because I think episode 7, to me, is my favorite episode. Okay, namely because of the okay, so the Dragon Mount, that whole scene, right, where they show Ren's mom. Did you guys know it was Ren's mom
Yeah.
at the start?
I didn't know
It's
until
the
the
ginger
end.
hair.
Yeah,
I
until
didn't
the
know
end,
until
right?
the end. Yeah.
Okay, so to me, if you were in the books, like Chris probably saw it, he's like, okay, this is the green. But when I watched it, right, I was like, this is the best fight scene of the whole bloody
Yes.
season.
It was
No, it
super
is.
good.
No, it is.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
One girl, pregnant lady, having
Yeah.
contractions, just like
And then,
slices
like,
everybody
beating
up.
up like three men were trying to like kill
And
her, right?
she gets stabbed in the stomach, but still gives birth. My God, this girl is amazing. But anyway, so but I thought that in terms of like not talking about the plot, like if I just watch it isolatedly, this was the episode that had the most highs and the least lows, in my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. Of course, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the book, but we'll talk about it later. Chris, what do you think?
No, I agree. The fight scene was very cool. If the purpose was to, and I think okay, so one problem is that I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't think the show actually explained very much about who that woman was. Not in the sense that she was Ren's mom, but in the sense that she was an ale. Right?
Ale,
Like
an
as a matter of
ale.
fact, the idea of an ale was very
Yeah.
underdeveloped. Right? It was just that
Ask them.
they
Do they know
saw.
what an
It
ale
was a
is?
passing comment. What's the
With
guy?
Tom. With Tom and Matt.
Right, Tom. Yeah.
When they found the dead ale in the
Give it.
cage.
There was also
Yeah.
somebody who let me see. Somebody who like commented that Ren reminds him of
Oh, here.
Loyal.
The lawyer.
yeah.
Lawyer.
So that
Yeah.
was like the only comment, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. That,
But the
Yeah.
significance of the ale and whatever they
Yeah.
represent
You have
is
no
like,
idea
not
who they
but
communicated.
are.
obviously
as a
they
group.
wouldn't like add in the comment without like, you know, it having a major implication, right? So like the assumption is that Ren is probably related to whatever these people are talking about lah. But we have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
And I would say that, like, because you guys are telling us that the mom is an ale, right?
Yes.
No, she's not an ale actually.
She.
She's Tigraine. She's not ale. She's
Okay. Yeah.
She married an ale.
Okay.
She married an ale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why this is so weird is because there's actually a prophecy of the dragon reborn. That he'll be born under the steps of the dragon mount, which is this big mountain they were underneath.
Mhm.
Right. So if you're a book reader, the moment you see man born under steps of dragon mount, you think, oh shit, this is the dragon reborn.
Mm.
Yeah. But okay, to be fair, the story of Dragon Mount and this prophecy doesn't actually happen in the first book, if I'm
Okay.
not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. They may have hinted to it, it may be in like the top parts, but it's never shown. And I think in the first book as well, they don't really talk about the ale that much either. Right, Chris?
No, they do a bit though. So for example, that whole
The
bit
Tuatha,
about, not just the Tuatha arm. So for example, this whole bit about Ren realizing that he may not actually be Tam's son
Yep. Okay, that's
is
true.
right from the start, you know. It
Yeah.
starts with the attack on
It's
Emond's Field.
suspected. Yeah.
Because they get injured and he's basically bringing his father to the village to try to find healing, and in his fevered state, his father basically lets slip that Ren is not actually his biological son.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
so part of Ren's arc in book 1 is that
Finding
he
out
is
who he is.
carrying this now doubt in his mind about who he is,
Mhm.
It's true.
you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it ties in a lot with the sword that he carries, which is almost not touched on at
No.
all.
Yeah, the
Heron
blade.
Mark
The
blade.
Heron Mark blade is a huge deal in the books.
Yeah.
Almost not touched on at all. So that's part of his arc in book 1 that they don't talk about. So you've got that explanation to the ale. There are little snippets here and there where they describe the ale as basically the Fremen from Dune.
Mm.
They're basically badass.
Yeah. They're badass desert people.
Yeah, they're
Fremen.
badass like wasteland people in this case. But yeah, so they don't explain that in the show until that scene at the start of this episode. And even then, you may
They
not
don't
even
really-
realize that this
yeah.
is the ale that they mentioned like for 5 seconds in the early episodes, right? She's
Yeah.
just a woman who's killing people.
Yeah.
You may not realize that she is an ale, and therefore this scene was meant to show the audience how badass these people are.
I didn't even know that. Like, okay, I assumed that she was carrying, you know, maybe Ren, but
Yep.
like obviously I didn't really know until the last part where they show like Tam with the sword taking the baby, right? Then I was like, okay,
yeah.
must be Ren, and then Tam is like
Yeah.
not his biological father, but his adopted father, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to me, like, I don't understand what's the significance of showing her dying and giving birth, and then Ren being like rescued by Tam.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Because you didn't hear, because there's no
Yeah.
prophecy.
Correct. It was just
Yeah.
to me it was just like, okay, it's a cool scene of her fighting.
Oh man.
So I think in the show, the purpose of that scene is to explain how badass the ale are, and also to explain that
Ren is the dragon reborn.
that Ren
Correct.
is not, you know,
To me,
yeah.
it was just to show that Ren
It's
is not Tam's son.
son. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
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 Like I didn't
And he's-
I didn't feel like there was any implications of like who the mom is. Because they don't even say like who she is.
No.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, and then of course there's the whole like question of how does he even get the vision when he's a baby, right? Because he gets the vision of his dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
was
he
it
remembers the
his vision?
mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
It was his vision?
Yeah,
Oh.
so Rand recalls that Tam was present at the Battle of the Shining Walls and encountered a pregnant maiden on the spear who died
Oh, that's so
giving
weird.
birth to Rand. I'm like,
Maybe the pattern gave it
how
to
does he
him.
know? He was in the stomach.
No, he-
he was in
And
the
Yeah.
womb.
Dragon Reborn.
At least he was there.
So that's the power of the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, when you guys when you guys saw Faldara, did you, Chris? Can I just ask you, is this your impression of Faldara when you first saw Faldara?
Actually, my impression changed. So,
as in,
so
how?
in my mind, in my recollection, I did not think of Faldara as being some sort of Asian culture equivalent. But going back to read the book, the
It
names that
kind
they
of,
use
yeah.
for a lot of the characters are
Kinda
actually
Asian.
there's a lot of So
Yeah.
I think my impression of that's not actually got a bit better because when you read them, you read the
Yeah.
names of the characters that they
Yeah.
of the people who live there, you kind of so actually there's a bit more reference to that aspect than I thought.
Yep.
My problem with Faldara is there's a lot of other problems lah. But
Yeah.
I think after reading the book, them depicting it as an Asian equivalent culture,
It's not so bad,
it's
right?
probably
Yeah.
not
I
that bad.
also, although,
anymore.
why does he look like the Mandarin?
I mean that is a separate question altogether. There are lots of problems with Faldara.
Yeah.
Uh,
What did you
but-
guys think of Lord Algamar, by the way? I mean, I know Chris knows the books, but like, what did you guys think of Lord Algamar?
Who's that?
He's
Mandarin?
the Mandarin.
The
He's the
brother.
Mandarin. He's the
What I-
leader of
What I felt
Faldara.
was
The
weird is
leader.
that
that's the perfect response.
he's Asian, right? Like
Yes.
he's obviously, but then like all the people living around,
It's all different
they're not.
races, right?
Yeah,
My sister is.
yeah. I thought that was a
Actually,
bit weird.
I don't know if this was in the books, but there was some supposed tension between the leadership vision of between him and his sister, right? Is that something that
Was
came
his
out in the
sister
book?
even in the book?
I will say that basically whatever was depicted in Faldara in the show, like
It's totally
95% of it
different. Yeah.
doesn't happen in the
It's
book.
fine.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay, my biggest thing with Faldara is Lord Algamar's character, because he comes across in the series as very insecure, not a very effective
Yeah.
leader,
Yeah, correct.
right? Like kind of lame, very like what are you doing, bro? Like, but in the book, he's a great captain. You know, there are 5 great captains in the world, and he's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be
He
like
wouldn't-
super
He
inbound.
wouldn't charge headfirst into a swarm of
No,
Trollocs.
he's supposed to be one of the great strategic minds of that era.
I mean,
Well,
to be fair, in that, have we gotten to the debate about Tywin's Gate yet or not?
No, that's episode 8, but we can talk about it. It's fine.
Let's just go there.
Yeah, so I mean, basically the point is that so in the books and also in the series, they build up as this massive fight, like
yeah.
at Tywin's Gate. They haven't seen so many Trollocs, blah blah blah. They think that maybe this is supposed to be the final battle that was prophesied, so on and so forth. So eventually, like he may have no choice but to charge it first into like several thousand Trollocs, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
may just have no choice because that's how outnumbered they are supposed to be, which is fair.
Okay.
But almost like nothing from there actually happens. Because
Yeah.
guess what, guys? He's still alive at the end of book 1.
Yeah, he doesn't die. And the worst part, right, is he shoots 4 crossbow bolts and he gets stabbed in the chest by a spear. That's all he does. I was like, he didn't even take out his sword. I mean, he took it out and he got stabbed. I was like, what the heck?
So there are all of these things. That scene where like the sister gathers like a few channelers to cast lightning, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And Chris, you haven't gotten to the Sanderson books yet, but Lord Algamar actually plays a huge role. So I wonder how they're going to replace him. Because I'm like, they kill him off
It'll
so
be the
early. I
sister,
don't know.
lah. It'll be the sister.
Yeah.
No, sister
Anyway.
died.
Oh, yeah. She fried herself.
Sister
right?
got burned
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
She got
Yeah.
burned to a crisp.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay.
She
They
did
all
get
got
burned,
burned.
Except.
So since we're talking to episode 8, since we're talking about episode 8, right? Let me just go through the recollection. So the first opening scene goes back to the Age of Legends. So it shows Luce Theron Delamon, who is the dragon, right? The first time I've seen the dragon, and it's in episode 8. Okay,
And you
so
see him for like
3,000
2
years
minutes.
ago, yes, he's talking to the Tamerlane Seed, okay, who is the other Aes Sedai, and it says here in the recap that she warns him of the danger of his plan to imprison the Dark One. But in my opinion, when I watch the show, they never talk about imprisoning the Dark One. She just goes, "You can't do this.
Yeah,
It's the crazy plan." Doesn't talk about anything at all, and he goes, "No, it will work if you join me." But anyway, so this is what happens. And then in the Blight, which is not very dangerous in the show, but it's like a
Hi, Grace.
swamp. Hi, Grace. In the show, the Blight is a swamp, right? Correct. But in the Blight in the books, the Blight is like dangerous.
A forest.
Like there are ducks.
Yeah.
It's like there are duck spawn around. Like you need to watch out. Like you can get killed anytime. All right. So Moiraine gives Rand a Sa Angreal, which is an ancient object to enhance his power to defeat the Dark One. At the Eye, Rand sees a vision of himself and Egwene starting a family, which the Dark One tells him to come to fruition if he gives his power to the Shadow. The Dark One then steals Moiraine, so he cuts off her power to the source. All right. And as the Faldaran army falls to an attack by thousands of Trollocs, 5 women, including Nynaeve and Egwene, channel against the attack and destroy the Trollocs. All but Egwene is burned from excessive chanting. Egwene then heals Nynaeve. Perrin finds the Horn of Valir, which can summon the greatest warriors of history. All right. Padden Fane steals it, revealing that he is a dark friend.
Oh.
All right. Who visited the 2 rivers all the time to find the 5 Tabaran. All right. Rand attacks the Dark One with the Sun Angreal and fractures the unbreakable symbol he stood upon. Fearing madness, Rand goes into hiding. Lan finds Moiraine, who tells him that this is not the last battle. And the final scene is that in the west, great ships arrive, whose channelers can produce powerful waves.
Yeah, basically water benders have arrived.
Every single sentence I read, I rolled my eyes a little bit and died.
Yeah, because almost like 90%, 95% of that
Did not happen. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I started book 2, right? And Ren is still there.
Yeah.
Ren is in Valda. I'm like, what is he doing here?
He's supposed He's supposed to go into hiding, right? That's what you think. Okay, so let me give you a brief cliff notes of actually what happens. Okay, I've always had this issue of why Moiraine keeps insisting they need to go to the Eye of the World to face the Dark One. Because I'm like, you don't even know who the heck Dragon Reborn is. And your plan is just to randomly bring all 5 of them there. And maybe you have a plan. And your plan is to give this untrained dragon this Sa Angreal that he can use to defeat this very cunning Dark One. And that's your plan? That's your plan in the show? What? But that's not actually what happens in the books, actually.
So what's in the books?
So Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Eye of the World, she receives information that the Eye of the World is like a very important place that the Dark One's forces are moving towards, right? To try to use it.
And this ties back into that warning from the Tuatha
from
Army.
from the
Dark
AO.
Lord is starting to move.
Yes. But no one knows, she even doesn't know what the heck the Eye of the World is. Like she doesn't have an idea of what happens there. So in the series, all 5 of them go to the Eye of the World. Like they're not like stuck in Faldara, some of them. Like they all go to the Eye of the World.
Right.
In
Okay.
the Eye of the World, they find out that the Eye of the World is a pool of untainted Saidin. Okay, so Saidin is the male half of the power.
You gotta talk about the Green Man.
Yeah. That's hard though. Can I just not talk about that first? Just talk about the fact that the Eye of the World is a pool of untainted. So Saidin, which is the one power, the male side of the one power, is tainted by the Dark One. Which is why males go crazy when they channel. So in this part, he uses the one power, the untainted Saidin, to kill who he thinks. No, okay. So yes, he kills the Trollocs. He destroys the Trollocs at Tywin's Gap. So he
the
does it
lightning
from far away.
storm is actually caused by Ren.
Okay.
Yeah,
book.
Ren does it, right?
Makes
And
a
then
lot more
after
sense,
that-
right?
After that scene, Moiraine goes, "The dragon is reborn." Isn't that so much cooler than what happened? Okay, but anyway.
So wait, just for law points, why is there this untainted pool of
This is where we talk about
Saidin?
the Green Man.
It was created by a... Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, okay. So in the show, the Eye of the World is depicted as being somewhere in the Blight. Or rather, in the books, the Eye of the World actually exists in some sort of parallel dimension, which is protected by an entity called the Green Man, who I think is supposed to represent, I don't know, the wheel, nature, rebirth, or whatever, right? Basically, it's protected by this entity. He's like a guardian spirit in this place.
Okay.
And the place is and so they represent it as that space where the Eye of the World is, where the Green Man is, They represent it almost like how they would represent like Narnia, for example. You can't go looking for it. Like, if you need it, you will find it. It's like the room of
The room of
requirement.
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 The room of
Yeah,
requirement.
and then they make this whole
exactly.
hoo-ha about, once you found it once, you can never find it again. So in the book, they explain that Moraine's actually been there before. And then so people are saying like, and before she sets off, there's a lot of questions from the Feldaran to say that you've been there for like, everyone knows that you cannot find it again. But then there's the whole bit about, like no one's need is greater than mine, blah blah blah. And then they go off and then
She's
they
very
find it,
stubborn.
right? So that's why there is a pool of untainted Sidin in existence, because it is protected and sealed off from the rest of the world in this
A pocket
dimension.
universe, lah, right?
Yeah.
Pocket
Yes,
dimension.
exactly. And it was created
Doctor
by
Strange.
male and female Aes Sedai, by the way, in like the Age of Legends. It was created by them long
Yeah.
time ago.
So it was they preempted the corruption of Sidon.
No, I don't know whether they didn't really explain that they preempted the
Yeah,
crowd.
I can't. Yeah.
But it was
But
created
they just
before
happened
the-
to do it.
before the
Okay.
Tint happened, right?
That's
So the
convenient.
weird thing that happens is that the reason why they didn't do this is because they never explained the Forsaken, and I don't even think that
Oh my gosh.
the two of them know who the heck the Do you guys know who the Forsaken are?
Oh, the 13 who have turned to the
Yes.
Dark One. That's because from YouTube, not even from.
No.
Yeah, because the show
The
doesn't
only
talk about
Forsaken
it
I
at
know is the
all.
one from WoW.
So the Forsaken are actually like, yeah, you got it right. They are the Dark One's lieutenants, right? They're the Nazgul, basically.
Yeah.
But they're Nazgul with personality. So they're all like heroes of the age. They are all heroes that lived during like the Age of Legends, but they turn to the dark,
I see.
right? But they're all like people. Okay. And so actually what happens in the books is that in the Eye of the World, Rand kills two of them, or three of them. Two? He kills Arginor, Balthamel, and Baalzamon, right? He also kills Baalzamon, right?
Yeah, he kills Baalzamon.
He kills
He
Baalzamon.
kills him, yeah.
So he kills three of probably the most powerful Forsaken, actually, out of the 13. Okay, because he has control of this. He has this like pool of power that he can just like.
Really? I thought it's supposed
I
to
mean,
be some.
definitely,
Never
but
mind,
definitely
getting
Ishmael.
spoiled
Yeah,
again.
except Samael. But I believe that Balthamel and at least definitely Ishmael is the top.
Maybe. Wait, no respect for Lanfear?
Yeah, that one separate lah.
They're separate.
Okay. So basically that's what happens. Like he kills the Forsaken in it. So actually in the last scene, right, Ren like goes like he's the one that goes Super Saiyan and he just destroys everybody. Right. Then that's where he realizes that like, oh, that's where this whole arc of like, okay, I am the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
Like he comes to terms with the fact that I can channel, I am the Dragon Reborn. Then he needs to figure out what he's going to do next.
So I think this is the part, right, that I think we can definitely touch on, which is that it's very clear that there is an agenda in the storytelling of the TV series, right? That we need to show women as powerful, and that's why 5 women channeling a storm, and Ren being tempted and resisting temptation and destroying the dark one that was in the Eye of the World. Right? They're so different from the story, which empowers this male figure to go Super Saiyan and like destroy, agents of darkness. I think that's primarily my problem with Wheel of Time. That it feels that because of certain agenda, they are making edits to the story that just presents the story in a total different light, right? Where women I mean, nothing wrong with that. I think it's great to have, women being empowered and everything, but it just doesn't come through very powerfully in the first place. Like Nynaeve, right? That whole episode we talked about just now, where she goes Super Saiyan and she heals everybody. Instead of feeling like, wow, she's damn powerful, you just feel like, okay, that's convenient, right? And then when they do it again, like Marv said in episode 8, then you just feel, wow, this is damn cheap, right? Like it's such a Deus Ex Machina kind of moment, right? Yeah, and I think that's why the whole series just does not sit well together, because it just almost flies in the face of its original intent, right?
Yeah, I also think like after hearing from you guys what the actual storyline is, I feel like Rand is done a disservice.
Yeah.
Right? The character of Rand is done, because at the end of season 1, I still don't think that he's very powerful. Do you know what I mean?
feels the sign grief.
Yeah.
He resists temptation. He resisted temptation,
He
bro.
basically
How many men
breaks-
can resist temptation?
He breaks like, oh, I watched Too Hot to Handle, man. Most men cannot resist temptation, but okay. So he
Exactly.
resisted power, and like the only thing that he did was that he broke the symbol that he was standing on, and we don't even know what the
Oh.
significant.
Later,
of it-
me and Chris will tell you.
Yes.
Hearthstone.
So like now that you tell me that he's the one that destroys like the thousands of Trollocs, I'm like, that would have been a super cool scene to establish how powerful. Like, okay, don't even talk about like male and female, like gender roles and all that, whatever.
Yeah.
But it would have established how powerful the Dragon Reborn
The
is.
Dragon Reborn is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like if you can channel like the pool of energy and then like just a few thousand Trollocs at one
Yeah.
go, you'll be like, whoa, okay, so that's his power level. But
Yeah.
we don't see that at all. All we see is
Mm.
like some guy who's damn humpty and then who's a coward and then he runs off into hiding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is in addition to what you said that the dark one, sorry, not dark one. Wait, was it the dark one? The dark one corrupted the male side of the one power,
Yeah.
right? Which is why.
Yes.
So now you're telling me, which is why like all male channelers will eventually go crazy because they touch the corrupted part of the one power
Yeah.
when they channel.
Yes.
We
See it
don't
in
see
them.
that in the TV series. I have no freaking idea why
Yes.
men go crazy when they channel the one power.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't know
So
at all.
that-
Actually, good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
No, so that was what the co-opener of episode 8 is supposed to show.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why the female power is not tainted by the dark one is because when Luce Terrantonomo said, I'm gonna try to imprison the dark one, they only use the male power to
Mhm.
imprison it.
Mm.
Which is why the male
Comes
source is
across,
tainted.
though.
Yeah.
That
But
really doesn't come
none
across
of that
in
comes
the scene.
across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a problem, like for me,
Yeah.
which I agree.
And then
I mean, as a matter of fact, coming back to Ian's point about overly modern fashion, that scene has overly modern fashion.
for 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is there spaceships?
No, but it's supposed to be like the scientific age,
Future,
right?
yeah.
Isn't it?
What
Yeah,
Age of
that's the
Legends?
whole law.
No. No,
No.
it's fantasy. It's not sci-fi. It's not sci-fi in that way. It's still fantasy. It's just like a age of prosperity.
It's not that they were some spacefaring race that because of this they evolved into the dark. It's not,
They just had
that-
more advanced
That
magic.
scene was just
basically.
like, why are there spaceships? Like, why is their clothes? That is the one scene where I'm like, why are their clothes so modern?
Okay lah, but Chris, to be honest, right, that's the least egregious thing I thought of.
Fair
the
enough,
scene.
yeah. But it's
I
just
thought
still
they were-
very like okay.
And,
Yeah. Okay.
does the dark
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
cut Maureen's power off in the books?
No, Maureen is not stilled. Maureen is not stilled.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I,
Okay,
I
so-
guess they did it to add more drama. Like in
No,
season 2, I
go
think she
ahead.
will be like working to get her power back.
which is weird.
Wait, so
Uh,
Maureen is not still
No,
in
no,
the
no.
books.
I mean, you're reading Greyhound now, right? You should.
Yeah.
But she's not still. No. Okay, so my
Oh
thing
my
about
god,
it,
this
right?
just like gives me a flashback of Witcher season 2. Right.
Esco, yeah.
What's her
The
name?
whole Esco moment again.
Who
No,
Esco?
the lady, what's her name? The not Triss.
Oh,
Yennefer.
Yennefer?
Yennefer loses
Yennefer,
power, right?
yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
almost the entire of season 2.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
she gets it
Yeah,
back
yeah.
again. I was like,
I mean, Maureen
That's
will
so
definitely
lame.
get her power back, but it's weird.
Yeah, but the question is, how are they going to do that? Because as far as I can recall from the books, it's a one-way process, right? There's no way,
no.
right?
Later no.
Or there's a way out.
Have you
there's a
not
way
gotten
back.
to that part yet? Yeah, no.
No, I mean, I might very well have, but I just don't remember.
I think you have actually. I think it happened before
I mean,
Jordan
I
died.
probably just don't remember. But
Yeah. So it's not a one-way train. But anyway, no. So my whole thing. Okay, another big thing, right? Apart from this whole like Rand's arc, which was weird. Although I will say, his main arc was resisting temptation, right? It is a big theme in the books as well.
it is.
I don't begrudge their choice to do that, but I feel like they did it at the expense of showing who the Dragon Reborn is and what his power level is. Like,
Yeah.
I think as a first season, you should establish what he can do. Then you can talk about like the fact that he has to resist the temptation to remake the world in his image, because that's actually a big thing. Like, part of Ren's stick as he gets more and more powerful is how he gets. I mean, obviously he starts to go crazy, but he starts to get an overinflated. He thinks he can remake the world in his image because he is that powerful.
Which is
Right.
the temptation of the dark one, lah,
Which
right?
is basically the show that one. Yeah, but yeah, and also another big thing is the freaking Horn of Valir.
Oh, yes.
He is like, did you guys when Pedant Fane steals the horn, right? What do you guys get take from that?
I had to Google who is better. because I forgot who he was. And then I realized that he was in episode 1, right? He was the guy
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
tending
he's
the
the peddler.
cart.
Peddler, yes.
I was
He's
like,
the peddler.
who the hell is this guy? Like
They
he
did
appears at
show
the
him.
start and then he appears at
He
the
should.
end. Yeah.
No, and in the story, I believe he was captured, right? And then
Yes.
imprisoned.
He's captured in Faldara.
Yeah.
No, but not only is he captured, it in the whole book, right? It shows that actually Paddington has been following them the whole
Right? Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yes, but we
He
don't
follows
get
them
that
into.
in the
He follows them into Shadar Lagoth, where he's also infected by by Mashadar, by the way.
Oh wow.
And then he follows them into like all these places. And then when he gets captured by the Faldarans, right, they actually question him. And that's where they find out that he's a dark friend.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he's actually a very important character later on
Yeah.
as well. Right. But he's kind of
Yeah.
just like you see him stumbling out of the ways, lah. Right. Do you guys remember this scene?
Yep.
He
Yeah.
comes out of the
Yeah.
ways. But you're just like, most people are just like, who is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
What's
like,
he
who is
doing there?
No,
What's he doing?
back to the horn. When they stole the horn, I don't know, as a non-reader, I'm like,
What's this one?
what is this horn?
Yeah,
What does it
same.
do?
I was like, what's the significance of this horn? Is it like the horn from Game of Thrones where you blow it and then the wall will come down? Like, how powerful is it? Like, what does it do?
Basically, it is.
There is no
they
horn.
don't explain the horn at all in the show. Whereas
They do. He said one line. Yokata explain one line. It brings out the heroes of the pattern. That's what he says.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's why
basically
we don't
it
even
is,
know what the
it is-
pattern is.
basically it's Aragorn summoning the Ghost Army, lah, effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like that
okay.
level of power, supposedly.
And that doesn't make sense to you because you don't know what the hell the pattern
Yeah,
is.
we don't know what the pattern is.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Okay, honestly, after watching one entire season,
Yeah.
if I don't talk to you guys, I would think that the Wheel of Time is just a figurative term. It's not even like it doesn't mean anything. I would just think that it's just the name of
Yes.
something like, like
Yeah.
Father Time, that kind of thing, Mother Earth,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just think it's a
Okay.
concept.
So let me law drop what the pattern is and what the so think of like when you weave clothes, right? Last time when they weave clothes, they use the machine,
loom,
right?
Yeah.
And then the loom, right?
Yeah.
And it moves, right? So the wheel is the loom, right? And it moves, and the pattern is what it creates, right? The pattern is the clothes that it actually creates. Right. So when they say
at in the starting cinematic, that image of threads being woven into a design that's supposed to hint at what the pattern is. But
Yes.
really, just go and watch Prince of Egypt, that song about the pattern. Famous song from the show.
But the magical thing about the pattern is that the pattern repeats. That is why the dragon reborns.
Mm.
Okay, because the pattern weaves as the wheel wheels, and right, that's the one thing it always says, right? And people are born into the pattern, but heroes get reborn they get reincarnated and reborn.
Yeah.
Right. So the dragon is reborn. So sometimes when later on they will say like, oh, you are this person reborn. Right. You're like reincarnated from this. Right. Later on you have these phrases. But it's because of the pattern.
The interesting part about the whole dark one is that he wants to break this pattern, right? So it almost sets up the entire thing like, like predeterminism versus like free will kind of, like you almost empathize with the dark one, like he wants to break this pattern of repetition. And I think, it just adds a bit more dimension to he's Satan, he's just bad.
And
I
but
will
he's
also
no
say
good.
that I have no idea as a non-book reader what the objective of the Dark One is.
Yeah, exactly.
I still do not know
Yeah.
what's his end game.
no, he is trapped to the pattern, right? Because the pattern weaves, right? So he wants to break the pattern. Like it's exactly what Kwan says. He wants to break the wheel.
So what does he want to do? He wants to stop them from being reborn, the heroes of being reborn, so that he can rule the world.
Basically, in
Free
a
will,
sense.
he just wants.
Yeah, you see,
Yeah, basically. So the pattern, right, has made it such that the dragon will always defeat the dark one.
I see. So he wants to stop being defeated.
Yeah, he wants to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Actually, the prophecy, the very important prophecy, is called the Kerathon cycle, which is not mentioned in the. But the Kerathon cycle is basically the story of how the dragon will always defeat
Okay,
the dark one.
I see.
Yeah, and he's trying to break the pattern.
Like he doesn't
Right.
he doesn't want determinism. He doesn't want destiny.
Kind of. I
He
mean, that's what
wants-
he'll say, lah. That's his whole shtick, right? He will
Yeah.
tempt you with saying
Yeah.
that,
Like, he wants
I
free will
want
for
you to have
everyone.
free will.
I
Yeah.
see.
That's what he'll say.
You
Yeah.
you see like for like let's compare it to like Avengers, right? Like
Yeah.
we know right at the start
Why
what Thanos
Thanos?
wants to do. In fact, we know what he wants to do even before he appears, and we know why he's such a bad guy and why he's such a threat to the Marvel universe. And at least we have that buy-in,
Yep.
of why they're working so hard to stop him. But
Mm.
like after 8 hours of watching Wheel of Time, I still don't know what the Dark One wants to do unless I go like ask you guys or I read up, which I feel it's a huge disservice to
Yep.
what I have heard so much about the show. Right? I mean,
Yep.
okay, so before I watched Wheel of Time, like I told you guys, I didn't read up at all. I didn't watch any YouTube videos. I almost didn't watch any trailers. The only trailer I watched was the one trailer that they keep playing on Amazon Prime whenever you watch another show, because they were like, trying to market. And of course, I mean, like that trailer already, like when I watched it, I was like, wow, the graphics would be better. But I mean, that's besides the point. So as a non-book reader, I want to feel like I understand at least what's happening after watching one whole season of the show. Yeah, but like I said before, after one season, I still don't really understand what's the point.
Yeah.
Like what are the major points of the show? I still don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, for somebody who doesn't like want to go read up, doesn't want to talk to somebody who knows, they'll be like, at the end of season, be like, why am I still watching this show?
Yeah.
Like if
So-
let's say Sherilyn didn't,
Yeah.
I don't talk to Sherilyn, right? She'll be totally lost.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so let me ask. So let's go to the last part, which is the two ending scenes. All right, because I want to kind of end this podcast eventually. The first scene is where Moraine holds up the pieces that Ren broke, right, with his lightning hand. Boom! Right, and then he breaks the ground. Which actually, funnily, Moraine looked at me and go, "Oh, he broke the ground, ah. What was it for?" Right. So he holds in her hand Coendeler, what she calls Coendeler, or she calls it Hearthstone. And they don't explain it in the
They don't.
in the TV series, but it's also fair because in the book it never happens. Like they don't find Coendeler until like maybe book 3 or something like that. It doesn't show up in book. It definitely doesn't show up in book 1. Right, Chris? Am I right? It doesn't show up now though at all, right?
No, hang on.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't show up.
I think it appears,
In
actually
book
more
1?
in book 2 at the start of book. I
Yeah,
think
okay,
it
okay.
does,
Yeah, but yeah,
it does show up. There is a talk between and this
Ace
again,
is it?
yeah, this happens when Siwan arrives in Feldara.
Okay.
There's a conversation about
Maybe. Yeah.
about Pendula, and then how if the seals are starting to fail, that means the Forsaken is loose.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I get that. So they don't explain this, but what Lewis Delamon did at the expense of tainting Satan, which is the male half of the power, is that he imprisoned the Dark One. He sealed him for 3,000 years. And the thing that are holding the seals together is these seals this seal
These
made out of
half-stones, like-
half-stone. Exactly.
Okay.
When Ren, which is why I actually don't think the ending is that bad, because even with the hindsight of a book reader, actually what happens at the end, how I interpret it, is that the Dark One manipulated Ren to destroy Hearthstone, to destroy one of the
seals.
Yeah. So this whole shtick about, you turn submit to me, he actually wanted Ren to actually use his power, the Saiyan Grill, to break one of the seals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
pretend
that
to
might
be
actually
Peter, right?
still be the case. That might actually still be the case in the books, actually.
But it
Because-
doesn't happen out of the world, right?
I think
don't
it
think
does,
so.
because they I think it does. Like at the end of the fight, because so for example,
He
in the
finds
books,
Hearthstone.
the Horn of Valir is not hidden somewhere in Lord
Nope.
Agomar's bedchamber, which is the
Nope.
most ridiculous concept I've ever heard. It is in the Eye of the World, and if I'm not
Yes,
wrong,
correct. It's hidden there.
it is hidden within the seal, right?
No,
If I remember
I
correctly,
didn't.
It's hidden under the seal, and then they find it. It's in a chest. So they
Yes.
find the Horn of Valir and a couple of other
See, that would make more sense of why they
things,
had to break the thing.
including the banner, the war banner of the dragon.
Of Manetheren. Yes, correct. That one I do agree. I know
Yeah.
they definitely found the Eye of the World there, but I know they definitely found the Horn of Valir there. But I always assume that in the book, the Coendelers are naturally breaking. Like nothing is
That one
like
I can't
breaking.
remember.
The seals
I-
are just like decaying because the Dark One is getting stronger.
Maybe. Okay, no, but there's definitely a scene where how they introduce Quendler in the book is that I think at the Eye of the World, Lan attempts to test because they don't know, right, that
Yeah.
it's Gwendola until he attempts
Also, he to break it.
yeah, he attempts to not even break it, he attempts to scratch it basically, and then he uses like a knife that's supposedly like forged with the finest steel and craftsmanship, and basically when he hits the
It breaks.
Gwendola with it, his knife snaps in
Yeah.
half, like
Yeah.
and it's spotless effectively. So that's how they introduced it, and and I think you're right. At that point, it's already starting to crack or something, and then they talk about that's how they also introduced the Forsaken.
Yeah.
The conversation about the Forsaken.
But honestly, I have no issues with that scene where, like, I think it's actually quite cool that Shaitan or Bowsermore tricks Ren to destroy the Gwendola. Because in essence, the end result is the same, right? Gwendola is broken. The seals on the Dark One is being broken. But it makes the Dark One seem smarter. It's like, hey, I manipulated you all the whole time. Yeah. So I don't think that's... But anyway, for those of you who needed to know, like, that's actually what what the old dragon did. He sealed the Dark One with his seals.
Yep.
Okay. And then the very last scene where I don't know whether you guys got this, but before the ships came, right? Do you see this little girl picking up shells on the beach? And then I was just laughing because Brandon Sanderson said, I don't know why they decided to blast this girl with huge waves at the end of the episode. It's like you just suddenly see like the Sean Chen shows up and then they just like boom, this little girl at the end. Yeah. Chris, I don't think the Sean Chen show up until at book 3. I'm very sure.
Halfway through, more or less halfway
very
through,
sure.
and they still are not.
I'm very sure Sean Chen only shows up in book 3
So
because
who are
it's
they?
after the Battle of Found.
Who are they?
No, this one I cannot see.
Waterbenders.
Waterbenders, yeah.
Because the Sean are actually very important in the book. And their backstory is revealed slowly.
Alright.
So I don't think it would be in your best interest for me to review
I
it.
mean,
So
at this point,
I assume that we will get no backstory lah.
yeah.
If they get no backstory, I will have this podcast in a year's time and then I'll tell you.
I agree.
Next time will be
We
completely
need
different.
this. Like you know when Lan finds Maureen and then she's like, you know, holding the broken pieces of the rock. Then me and Shirley were like, what's that?
Where the rock come from, right?
What's the significance of the rock breaking?
Yeah. Now you know lah.
Yeah.
Now you know. Oh,
So
can I just talk about Lan for just one moment? Can I just say Lan is the most useless person in the last episode. He does nothing. He loses Moraine. Then he goes to Moraine at the last part after the battle's over and goes, "Are you okay? Unmask the bond." That's all he does. He doesn't do anything. But in the book, it's so different. Like Lan is a badass in the book. And I mean he's kind of a bad in this show, but a lot of his nuance is gone. Like even the scene with him and Nynaeve. Did you so let me get it. Let me ask you guys, do you buy into their
No.
No, not at all.
No. I'll be honest, I buy into none of the relationships. I don't feel any chemistry.
Yeah, zero.
Death is as light as a feather and duty is as heavy as a mountain, right, Chris?
I-
So okay. With Moiraine, with Nynaeve and Lan, right? The book. I don't think the TV series does that bad of a job. But I think the last episode they could have done something even cooler with their relationship. So I thought it was very strange because there's the last scene. She says, I can help you track Moiraine. She has a tell, right?
Yeah.
That's what she says, right? And then Lan looks at her and goes, "You are a remarkable woman." It's like, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, why is she a remarkable woman? Right? And then they do that thing, and then he says the classic line in the book, right? Which is I will hate the man who loves you, but because he is not me, but I will love him because he brings a smile to your face. Which is like, I was like, this is an awesome line in the book, but used at exactly the wrong moment. Like, what the heck are they using that for?
It sounds really sweet on paper, but it was super cringe in the show.
It's super sweet.
That is a super nice line, by the way.
Yeah,
like
it is nice because it's nice because at that point, Lan has decided that I can never be with you.
Yeah.
That is why that moment is so sweet. Like, I cannot be with you, which is why all these things.
Yeah.
But in the show, they got together anyway. So
Yeah, they had sex lah. They had sex once
Yeah.
lah. But okay,
see,
that thing.
that's the thing. So that's
this is
the
a
problem.
when Ben thank you man moment, really.
They have sex
right?
too.
No,
easy.
that's
One
not the problem.
extent.
The problem is in the books, In the books, there is zero sex, guys. There is no sex. That intimate scene that you see between Ren and Egwene in the first episode doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The Sion Sancho and Moraine doesn't happen. Lan and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't
They have a
happen
lot of
because-
attraction, but yeah, they never. Have
Yeah, because in the books, like this man has some honor.
sex. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, same thing with Egwene and Ren. They're not being depicted as they're being depicted in a way such that like that's not going to happen.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
ever.
Mm.
Well, not ever basically, as far as Ren and Egwene is concerned.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
it's a what if moment for them.
yeah, like yeah, so so that doesn't happen. It really doesn't.
I will. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Lan and Ninive's relationship in the books is far better paced. Like the scene where he recites that line to her about duty and whatnot is a far better scene, as you said, than where it appears in the show.
Yeah, I think Egwene and Nynaeve's arc is to me better done than the three boys, but it's failed at the very last moment because Nynaeve and Egwene's whole arc, right, is whether can I trust the Aes Sedai. That's one of the big things in the book because Nynaeve definitely doesn't trust the Aes Sedai, but also the idea that they need to gain control of their abilities. Okay, in the book, right, when you start to learn how to channel, right, you need to go to the Aes Sedai because if they don't teach you how to channel, you will like burn yourself out.
Mhm.
Like there is a detrimental effect to not training your powers.
Like
Actually,
after
what
the
happens
lightning
to the five-
storm kind of thing lah.
No, basically what happens to those 5 people at the last episode
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
happens
It's what
to women
Yeah,
who don't learn how to control their power
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah. So to me, because in book 2, it's very obvious they're gonna learn to be Aes Sedai. They're gonna train in the White Tower. So what should have happened? I can just think of an instant change that will make the episode 8 a lot better. Is that Nynaeve and Egwene are trying to fight off these Trollocs, like not using that whole channeling thing, but they are starting. They can't. They can't wield the one power effectively. And then Lan comes in and just like shing 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 protects
Like
them, and they're
Aragorn,
fighting. Yeah, no, and fights exactly in the same way that he did with Moiraine in episode 1.
Yeah.
Together, right? And then that's where you start to go, okay, they're cool as a couple. Like they're fighting together. But then at the same time, you go like, okay, crap. Like Nynaeve and Egwene are very powerful, but they obviously need training, right? And then that's where it leads to book 2. You're like, okay, they need to go to the White Tower to train. But instead, what we're left with is Nynaeve gets burnt out. Egwene is like miraculous healing her, and Lan does nothing at all.
Yeah, like, it's a Ray moment again, lah, right? Force heal.
And Chris, did you think burning out looked like that? Like literally burning out?
I was okay with it. I think I was okay with it. I mean, that's one way to
you pick burning out.
Like
I mean, there are lots of
Palpatine.
ways they could depict it, but
Unlimited
I was-
power.
I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I was okay with it.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it will be interesting to know. Like I think what Chris said at the like at the other part of the episode is that I don't really know how they're going to fix a lot of the stuff they changed. Because the more they change, the more it's going to
The more it
affect the
deviates,
story
right?
later on.
Deviates from the books.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much so that when they hit like book 6 or 7, not even book 6 or 7, I think even by book 3, by the Shadow Rising, I don't even know what's
No,
going to
but
happen.
book 2 already is how are they going? Like no, so I think the point is that it is no longer a question of how are they going to fix, or rather, to bring the story back to the books. I think at this point you just have to expect that it's just not going to be
Yeah.
like the books, and then just
Yeah.
move on from there. Because I think too many things have changed. The story is fundamentally different
Yep.
already. I think.
Anyway, the showrunner has really said, like, prepare for like deaths that are not in the books because he wants to like keep things fresh and all that.
I really hope they change him out, to be honest.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I am still holding on to the hope that they will keep to the books because I would love to see the book story come to fruition, especially because like Chris and I, we know the arcs of all these important characters, and after they go through is really cool in the books. Like it's so cool that I can picture in my mind, even with these actors and actresses, how it's going to happen, right? And I can picture that it can be very cool, and I hope they stick to it. But
Yeah,
who
I don't
knows?
know.
Okay,
I'm very interested to see how they introduce Elaine actually.
Yeah.
Because the entire meeting between
With Ren,
Ren and
right?
Elaine in the books can obviously no longer happen.
It can kind of happen. He goes to Camelin instead of Tarvalon next lah.
No, but that doesn't make sense. But he's already in Tarvalon. Why would you go to Camelin?
As
You know what I
in,
mean?
yeah,
Like-
that's true. I mean, they have to give another reason why to go to Camelin.
Yeah, so
Instead
they've
of
got to
going to
come up with a
Tarvalon.
completely different reason. Another reason that's compelling enough to reenact, I suppose, the scene where the chance meeting that he.
they're not going to do that.
You know,
He's
yeah,
not going to
they
fall.
can't do that anymore.
He's
So
not going to
it's just
fall into
be-
her garden, and she's not going to see him.
Yeah,
And
so
like, oh, who are you?
that setting is completely gone already. So that entire thing is going to have to change. Like, how are they going to introduce
Major characters.
Yeah, and they are all major characters, right? Because
Yes.
it's not just about Elaine, right? It's about her brother. It's about about who her mom
Yeah,
is, and all these things, right? They're all major characters. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I will say that for the majority of I would say that I think all in this first season, you have met 70% of the main cast. The important people at least. Yeah. So these are the actors you're stuck with for the next what? Like you guys know Min? Do you remember Min?
Yeah.
She is a major character.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Asian
What am I
looking
doing, correct?
is a direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's not Isedai.
Wait, who is she?
She cannot channel. She
She's got
cannot channel.
oracles,
She
yeah,
sees the pattern. She can see pattern.
Oh, yes, yeah, I remember her.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
She's very
bar, the
important.
barkeep, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Although was she a barkeep in
No,
Balon? She wasn't in Faldara, that's the first thing. They met her in Balon.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Was she a barkeep?
I don't remember.
They meet her in a tavern in Baelon.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like I don't think she works there.
Yeah,
she
just
just
was
lives
there.
in Baelon, and then
Yeah.
she gets tracked down by
By
Raid, who knows who
Morit.
she is
Yeah.
and what she can do.
Yeah. Okay. Last closing comments. Anybody want to say anything?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I will say that I will watch season 2.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking forward to watching it as much as I was looking forward to watch season 1. Yeah, at this point I'm like, I'll watch it because I've watched season 1. Yeah.
Sunk cost, is it? Sunk cost.
Okay.
I already spent 8 hours.
Okay, honestly, it's not super bad. Like it's not a bad show. Yeah, it's not like a show like you after watching, a few episodes, you're like, I'm just wasting my time, I'm not gonna continue watching. It's a show that I can still enjoy. I think it helps that I'm not a book reader. So without the book knowledge when I watch the shows initially, I don't feel as cheated as you guys. Yeah, I can still enjoy it. But it's only after I watch the show and then you guys tell me that I'm like, why? Why? Yeah. So I will still watch it. Yeah.
Okay. Guan?
I think, as I mentioned while we were watching the series, I enjoyed Shannara on screen more than I did. this.
No.
Yeah, and that's a low. That's really a low, right? But the good thing that came out of this is that it has brought me to the books, right? And as I slowly plow through the books, even though I think the prose is a bit slow, I can see that the world that Robert Jordan has created is actually really rich, and it really shows his genius, right? Being able to pull from all these different cultures and create a world that is relevant and a story that continues to pull people in and be like invested in all these characters. I think that to me is the most is what I've gained out of getting watching the first series lah. Like you watch it on screen and you're like, wow, this is very disappointing, but you read the books and you read like the lore behind it and you realize like, wow, this is an amazing world, and you kind of get to know it lah. Yeah.
Chris? He's speechless.
I mean-
Nothing to say.
I don't know at this point. I think I will probably watch season 2 just out of some sort of morbid curiosity to see how
How they butcher it more.
How they kill
how they continue this. Because at this point they're basically is to me as far as concerned is their story. So if I watch it, it's to see how they tell their story because I don't think it's fair to say that this is Robert Jordan's story
Yeah.
anymore. So it's their story. They've just borrowed some characters.
Yeah.
I think it's
so
like watching Full Metal Alchemist and reading Full Metal Alchemist the manga, right? Because the Full Metal Alchemist anime was not loyal to the Full Metal Alchemist.
The
manga.
initial one, the first
That's what
one.
you
the
watch
first one.
Before
Right.
Brotherhood.
That's why you watch
When you're a
Brotherhood.
brotherhood,
Yeah, that's why
right?
you watch Brotherhood and you don't care about the first one. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But my expectations are low, are very low. As a matter of fact, I am incredibly terrified for Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
and for Mass Effect and
Oh
for
my
anything
God.
else that they choose to do. Please do not do Mass Effect.
They might get Henry Cavill though. That will save
what?
it a little bit. To be
what?
Shepherd.
No,
Why
get
you don't want
Shepard. Get actual Shepard to do it.
I don't know if he can act though.
They got get Shepard to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henry Cavill's a bit big size for Shepard.
Yeah, he's not. I mean,
Maybe
Maybe
the
we will
Witcher.
get Fem Shep instead. You know, with the
Oh,
whole
if-
woman
no.
empowerment.
Most probably.
You get
They
Fem Shep.
better not do Shep. I don't know.
really? Why?
In my mind, Shep is like canon Shep is male Shep.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, fair enough. Canon Shep is male Shep, but I think Fem Shep is equally popular.
Then they have to find a really, really badass chick to do it. Like they gotta find the right girl to do it.
Fair enough.
Which is I can't think of the back of my mind. Imagine they choose Keira Knightley to be Fem Shep. Alright, guys.
I mean, anyway, but yeah. So
Alright.
I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified for Lord of the Rings
Yeah. Now
And
that
Mass
you mention it, yeah.
and anything.
They should
No.
just sell it to Disney, guys. And
I
make
don't
John
know.
Favreau the executive producer.
I think they should just stop killing our childhoods and just leave it alone. Come up with new IP. Like make new stories.
The good thing about Lord of the Rings one is
sorry.
that it's not based on
Story,
existing
existing story.
story. I mean, it's based on
So you have-
a time period that we know of,
Yeah.
but there's no actual material, right?
Yep.
Like the War of the Ring. Yeah.
Okay, that might be
A bit better.
a redeeming factor.
Yeah.
If they do actually make Mass Effect, they better not retell the
Yeah.
Original trilogy.
game trilogy. Like they better not. It's just
I mean, if they manage a KOTOR, where they find a pocket and then create a great story, that's fine. That's wonderful, right?
no. I think there are enough stories within Mass Effect for them to do an entire show on.
No, they will definitely do. They will definitely do trilogy. Chris.
Yeah.
They need to capture the market first.
Yeah.
With Shep.
You need the
You can't spin off
Yeah.
the series without touching the main subject matter first. That's my opinion, lah. I don't think they will take the risk.
Have to spin off the main. You don't have to do a spin off. You can go back, right? You can do a show
Yeah, I
about
know.
the First Contact
First Contact War. Yeah.
and that leads perfectly into trilogy because that you get introduced to a young Shepard,
Mm.
and also a younger Anderson within that time period, and then it leads perfectly into the trilogy.
I agree, but I don't think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
No,
I
I
agree.
don't.
I agree with you.
Amazon could just shut down Mass Effect and then renew The Expanse for
Yes.
another 3 seasons.
Yeah, come on,
Right,
let's do that.
that's what they should do. Okay.
They have enough money to do both if they wanted to.
True.
Yeah.
Close down New World and channel it.
Close down New World. Yeah, I think in this conclusion, I actually am less down on the show than I was in hindsight because I think I've come to the point where my thought is at least we have the books. So like if you want a good story, go read the books. You have 14 great books to read. Albeit a few very, very slow ones that you can afford to skip. But if not, you still have the books. And I really think that COVID messed up this show quite a bit. Like we didn't really talk about how bad the Battle of Tarwin's Gap was and how low budget it looked.
My God.
Yeah, but actually, to be honest, I thought because in my mind I had this whole like 10 Trollocs coming down fighting in my mind. Like I thought they were gonna do the similar fight. So when I actually saw like maybe 20 real Trollocs and everybody else was CGI. I was like, that's an improvement, I guess. Right? So
Nothing to do with the Trollocs. It's the most pathetic cavalry charge in the history of cavalry charges.
No, the funny thing is that they charge into Tywin's Gap, then they get up and get to the crossbow.
Yeah, they charge their own wall. Why? I don't
In
understand.
the V formation as well.
Yeah, it's like the most pathetic. Like it makes Game of Thrones cavalry charge in the dark look amazing.
It's really silly for sure.
I think
But
the worst part is that you compare it to Battle of Helm's Deep, right? Because there's similarities, right? Yeah. And one is like I don't know what
Classic.
you call it? Morton's, and
Yeah.
the other one is your Western store, food store, the steak. Yeah.
Mr. Food Soft is also not bad sometimes.
No, and the thing is,
So
right, it's not
terrible.
even about numbers, right? Because if you talk about Helm's Deep, that charge
it didn't have that
when they
much.
storm out of the keep and there's only 5 of them is epic.
Yeah, it was epic.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not about numbers; it's about the way.
How they
quality,
did it,
yeah.
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 You know what we should do? We should get John on one day and then ask him like,
Did he
he knows-
think
I don't think
that
we
charge
can,
was
lah.
weird as well?
Sorry?
You know, Chris, I didn't really think about it until you said that he charged their own wall. I just
Their
realized
own
how
wall?
stupid that was.
I don't understand.
And Aaron asked me also, where are they going? Where did they disappear to? Like, don't they come out from the other side? Yeah. Oh. Well, hopefully COVID, like now it's they have more, like, hopefully they like they spent all their budget on like buying the costumes, and now they have all the costumes, so they can spend the money on where
For
it really
season 2,
matters.
right? Like
Yeah,
CGI.
for season.
Proper
Yeah.
CGI.
There's only
So-
so much like Rosamund can continue carrying this series lah.
Maybe not much anymore. She doesn't have the power.
Oh no.
I mean, she's not even supposed to be carried. Like the story really should be about
The three boys. The
yeah,
three boys.
it really is about the 3 boys. So she shouldn't be the one that's
Yeah.
carrying at all. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
right? It's like she's supposed to have that Sean Bean role from Game of Thrones, where you know, yes, he's fantastic, but it's perfectly
Right,
okay if he gets his head cut off at some point. You need to be able to carry the show with that, with the Stark kids and all of those other people.
Well, unfortunately.
Mm.
Now we end this podcast on a sad note, but also a funny note. So if you guys want, go at least go and watch the episode 8 and just see the cavalry charge into their own fortress. At least see that part for kicks and giggles. But I would say if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and try. It's nothing wrong just trying it out. Maybe
Oh, and-
you might like it. Maybe you might not.
Before you end, anybody watch the X-ray stuff?
No.
No,
Yeah.
it's
I
this
heard
one
it's
extra
very
stuff.
good. Yeah.
It's
What
the
is that?
animated
Why
stuff, right?
Yeah. It's when you go onto Prime Video and you click the options on each of the episodes, there's like a short animation thing that apparently it's a lot better and gives some context to the entire story. Yeah.
Okay.
I shouldn't have to watch the story being in an extra. I should just show it in the first episode. But anyway, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If not, thank you, Kwan and Chris, for coming and Mark as usual. And if not, we'll see you guys next time on 2 Gamer Dads. See ya.
Bye.
Yep.
Right.